Chapter 44:31. Bam, bam, bam. A huge explosion almost roared into Yi Qing Luo's ears. The majestic, profound wave exploded with a loud bang, setting off the surrounding red mist, forming a surging wave. And Yi Qing Luo was in the middle of the explosion. The surging wave, wave after wave, crashed into her body. But it didn't knock her down. Yi Qing Luo had been enduring this kind of painful impact. It almost wanted to crush her whole body and then reassemble it. Ah! A cry of suffering from power spilled out from Yi Qing Luo's pink lips. A dazzling light rolled out from Yi Qing Luo's whole body. Her body, suddenly, was bounced up into the sky. The thick red mist wrapped her in layers. Then, quickly, she fell to the ground. The surging, profound wave lingered around her body, quietly flowing. Yi Qing Luo's body suddenly seemed to be unblocked. That wave of pain and swelling pain all disappeared. Her whole body was relaxed, completely without the slightest feeling of heaviness. She clenched her fists, raised both hands. Her gaze looked at the fist that was penetrating the profound wave. A burst of ecstasy in her heart. Her power recovered. Not only recovered, she could even feel. Her own body had also undergone earth-shaking changes. Compared to before, the feeling after the transformation of the physical body was even more relaxed. Just a simple clench of her fists. She could feel the profound energy flowing in her body. She had the feeling of advancement. She could feel herself about to advance. Yi Qing Luo couldn't suppress the ecstasy in her heart. She looked at the grand graveyard in front of her. Her gaze fell on that human-shaped mural. Between her brows, there was a gentle tranquility. She touched the azure dew bracelet. Her fingers touched it lightly. Using her own consciousness, she established a spiritual connection with the azure dew bracelet. Luo Lass, a familiar voice, entered her mind. Yi Qing Luo called out in surprise. Old man Song. What's going on? Why was I inexplicably locked up by you? Old man Song's voice resounded. Locked up. Yi Qing Luo was puzzled. What's the situation? I still want to ask you what's going on. All of a sudden, this old man was locked in the azure dew bracelet's small black room, and I'm unable to contact you. Old man Song expressed that during this period of time, he had been locked in a black space that stretched as far as the eye could see. He couldn't get out and had no way of contacting Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo succinctly explained the matter of Bloodbone Barbaric King casting a forbidden curse on her. Then, he pointed at the graveyard ahead. Old man Song, I've entered this graveyard again. Old man Song stared blankly. Only now did he notice his surroundings. Why do I feel a little strange? Yes. But I can't put my finger on it. Yi Qing Luo pursed her lips. But it is because of this tune that I can break the forbidden spell. She paused for a moment, her voice becoming much more serious. Old man Song, tell me honestly, am I the key to opening the Divine Emperor's tomb? Old man Song's words stopped in his mouth, just like that, as though he had not expected Yi Qing Luo to ask such a question. Gathering all the azure dew artifacts, I can help you recover your true body. That time, you told me so. Yi Qing Luo didn't wait for old man Song's reply and continued on her own. Recovering my true body is part of the reason. The real reason is, you also want me to open the Divine Emperor's tomb. Luo Lass. Old man Song didn't know how to answer this question. His voice was somewhat hesitant. Chapter 44:32. Yi Qing Luo curled her lips and chuckled. I'm not blaming you. Why are you so nervous? Her fingers lightly flicked the azure dew bracelet and continued. Old man Song, do you still remember the map I placed in the azure dew bracelet? Old man Song was stunned. Yes. Yi Qing Luo took the map out of the azure dew bracelet. The thin, yellowish paper was stacked neatly in layers. Yi Qing Luo's slender fingers lightly stroked the surface of the map. Profound flame Dubhe diagram. The map of the Divine Emperor's tomb. You already know? Old man Song was shocked. The Overlord told you everything. I guessed it. Yiqing Luo looked down at the map in her palm. Once I confirmed the relationship between myself and the Divine Emperor, the use of the profound flame W diagram is not hard to guess. Old Man Song sighed. From the moment you encountered the murals, I knew this matter couldn't be hidden from you for long. Yiqing Luo, I know, you and Xin hid it from me because you were worried that I would be under too much pressure. After all, this map hides too many secrets. She took a deep breath and clenched the map in her hand. Now, I know what I'm carrying on my shoulders. I will make myself stronger and protect what belongs to me. Old Man Song laughed. His laughter was filled with gratification. It's best that you can think like this. Just as he was speaking, Old Man Song suddenly heard something, and his voice carried a bit of snickering. This old man has been locked up in the small black room for so long, and I haven't had the time to chat with you about what happened recently. So soon, this old man has to continue his seclusion again. As Old Man Song's voice fell, Yiqing Luo heard familiar footsteps behind her. Her eyes suddenly lit up, and the corners of her mouth raised into a sweet smile. Xian, why are you here? She stood up and looked behind her. What entered her eyes was a man dressed in a flowing purple brocade robe. He had a handsome face, and between his brows was a flow of tenderness and honey. When he saw the girl, the man's lips curled into a smile. Little Luo, He opened his hands to her. Looking at the man's familiar face, Yiqing Luo's earlier unhappiness and heavy pressure all vanished in a thin air. She stood up and sprinted towards the man. Ayaya, I'm leaving. This is the world of youngsters. You youngsters should play. Old Man Song's tone was filled with disdain for not being able to stand the dog food. Then, the azure dew bracelet trembled, and Old Man Song's aura disappeared. Yiqing Luo's eyes curved in a crescent as she hugged the man's waist. Didn't you say that you're waiting for me up there? Can't you wait to see me? Yeah, I can't wait. I'm worried about you. The man's low and magnetic voice was like mellow wine. He raised his hand and gently stroked the girl's black hair. Thank goodness you're fine. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with a young lady's coquettishness. With your meticulous care, how could anything happen to me? The man's large palm slowly landed on the girl's hand from her head. His shimmering peach blossom eyes looked at the map in Yiqing Luo's hands as his slender fingers suddenly clamped onto the map. This is... When the map was about to leave her hand, Yiqing Luo didn't know why, but her body reflexively gripped the map tightly. She pushed Xin away and took a step back. After completing these reflexive actions, Yiqing Luo realized something was wrong and hurriedly raised her head to explain to Xin. But the moment she raised her head, Merry Christmas, my third Christmas with the babies was wonderful. I'll give you a little surprise. Probably. In the evening you'll know what the little surprise I prepared for the babies is. End of this chapter. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4433. The man in front of her had an icy cold intent in his eyes. The corners of his lips curled up slightly as it seeped out some icy coldness. Yiqing Luo was stunned as her eyes looked at him without blinking, as something seemed to be fermenting in her heart. The explanation was at the tip of her tongue, but she swallowed it back. Lil Luo, you're not obedient. The man's voice was still that magnetic and mellow, with a hint of an unknown smile. Yiqing Luo felt strange, as her eyes filled with vigilance. But at the next moment, the familiar, elegant sandalwood scent seeped into her nose. It enveloped her entire person in that familiar scent. The man's long arm wrapped tightly around her waist. The other hand speedily pulled out the map in her hands. Yiqing Luo was just about to take the map back, but she saw that hand which was locked on his waist suddenly flipping over. A terrifying ray of profound light shot out from his palm. Yiqing Luo's reaction was swift. As the profound ray expanded, her hand had already locked onto the man's wrist, and with a leap, she left his embrace. Bam, bam, bam. A deafening explosion erupted from the place where she had been standing a moment ago. Endless profound ray and strong airflow overlapped. The entire blurry red mist started to churn wildly because of this, even if Yi Qing Luo evaded in time. But that tyrannical profound wave's remnant might still shocked Yi Qing Luo. Yi Qing Luo's face turned slightly pale as she retreated 2 steps, as her eyes stared unblinkingly at Dmo Xian. "You're not Ah Xian. Who on earth are you?" Her Ah Xian absolutely would not lay a hand on her, and absolutely would not bear to hurt her. The man's face was still handsome, and in his shimmering peach blossom eyes, it was still filled with the usual tenderness and pampering. Only the smile on his lips was so cold that it made one's heart tremble. This was not her Ah Xian. Her Ah Xian had never used this kind of attitude to look at her, listening to the young lady's questioning, looking at the cold intent and suspicion on the young lady's face. The man's smile deepened. "Lil Luo feel that you really understand me?" He laughed softly, his voice low and husky. "Little Luo can always tell me apart at first glance. Then now, little Luo do you think I'm fake?" Yi Qing Luo's heart thumped hard. His entire body felt stiff and cold. She swallowed her saliva and stared at the man. Yes, in the past countless times, he had pretended to be the Dmo Xian that appeared in the illusion. She could easily tell if the other party was real or not. But even until now, she couldn't tell from the man's appearance or behavior that he was an imposter. The only thing she couldn't believe was Dmo Xian would make a move on her. The man in front of her couldn't be Ah Xian. It couldn't be Ah Xian's. Yi Qing Luo tried her best to calm down her breathing. He warned himself not to be affected by the words of this imposter. Now, what a stupid woman. The man saw the changes in Yi Qing Luo's expression. His lips curled up in ridicule. His smile was a little cold. That was the expression he had shown to other women in the past. This lord has already gotten the Tianshu map. As for you, if you want to live in your own fantasy world, it will make you feel better, so you can continue to think in this way. He opened up the map in his hands. His slender, long fingers slowly caressed the complicated terrain on the map. His dark red thin lips curled deeper. On account of the Tianshu map, this lord will not kill you. Chapter 44-34. You got close to me just for the Tianshu map? Yi Qing Luo's fingers clenched tightly as she stared deadly at Dmo Xian. The man's eyes were cold. Otherwise, do you think that I really fell in love with you? He scoffed softly, and a mocking sneer appeared in his eyes. Little Luo, do you think, what is there about you that I like? Yi Qing Luo's breathing suddenly became chaotic. She stared at the man's face and carefully observed his expression as he spoke. But no matter how hard she tried to identify it, it was undeniable. The man in front of him was indeed Dmo Xian. His heart was still unable to believe what was happening before his eyes. She could not believe that Dmo Xian would deceive her just for a piece of Tianshu map. Ah Xian was not such a person. If Ah Xian really didn't love her, why would he dote on her gently? If Ah Xian really didn't love her, how could he have done so many things in the past that moved people to the extreme? How could the warmth and sweetness they once shared be fake? Yi Qing Luo forced herself to calm down and look for the other party's loophole. Ah Xian had long known that the Tianshu map was in my hands. If Ah Xian really got close to me because of the Tianshu map, he could have taken it from me in the beginning. Why would he wait until now? What's the point of getting the W diagram? The man sneered. The W diagram is just a map to find the tomb of the divine emperor. The most important key is you. He slowly walked towards Yi Qing Luo. The familiar scent of sandalwood floated in his nose. He slightly leaned over and covered the side of the young girl's ear, laughing lowly. Otherwise, why do you think I brought you here? The double-sided illusory heart lake is the mirror that unravels all of your secrets. I want you to open the divine emperor's tomb. He moved closer and closer. Yi Qing Luo was able to see that peerless face of his. He dared to get so close. He was confident that she wouldn't be able to find any trace of impersonation on him. And as he got closer, it also made Yi Qing Luo's heart cold to the bone. His limbs, bones, and every meridian seemed to be covered in frost. He was so stiff that he couldn't move. It's him. It's really him. It wasn't a fake DMO Xian. It's him. Yiqing Luo suddenly burst out laughing. Her long and narrow eyes suddenly reddened. Her body swayed slightly, as if she was on the verge of collapse. So, everything was fake. Gu Shenwei muttered. The glint in her eyes dimmed. DMO Xian, do you dare to look into my eyes and say it again? She took a deep breath. Suddenly, she stretched out her hands and grabbed DMO Xian's robes. The distance between the two of them closed. His breath hit her face. The girl stubbornly raised her head. Her reddened eyes met his ink-like eyes without blinking. The man's shimmering peach blossom eyes were filled with ridicule. His red lips curled up, and he laughed evilly. You still don't want to give up? Yes. Her voice was slightly hoarse. That look of realization made it easy for people to overlook the viciousness that flashed across her eyes. The man's gorgeous smile was extremely evil. He suddenly bent over, and that peerless face was magnified in Yiqing Luo's pupils. Their eyes met. His thin lips moved slightly as he enunciated each word clearly. I have never loved you. To me, you are merely the key to open the divine emperor's tomb. This book came from Chapter 4435. Really? The young lady smiled coldly. Her cold voice was filled with a sense of mockery. The man's body suddenly stiffened. His chest suddenly felt numb. He actually couldn't move at all. The man's expression changed as he looked at the young lady in front of him in disbelief. Oh, very curious. Why am I willing to make a move on you? Yiqing Luo smiled lightly. Her hand slowly slid down from the man's chest. Her hand moved away. It could be seen clearly. On that piece of purple robe, there was a thick black qi. That was the poison she had placed on the man when he leaned over. Because of the man's self-confidence and his contempt towards Yiqing Luo, he couldn't believe that Yiqing Luo would make a move on him. Yiqing Luo took a step back and retreated from the man's aura. Between her brows, there was a cold sneer. To tell the truth, I can't tolerate betrayal. If Xian really makes a move on me, I really will make a move. Because I would rather drag him to death with me than to give him a chance to betray me. The man's body stiffened as he heard something wrong in the young lady's words. What did you say? Yiqing Luo smiled, stretched out her hand, and took back the Tian Shu map from his hand. She flicked the Tian Shu map and slowly folded it. As she folded it, she said faintly, If Xian wants the Tian Shu map, I will definitely offer it with both hands. What do you mean by this? The man's handsome face gradually darkened. Yiqing Luo tilted her head, the literal meaning. After she folded the Tian Shu map, she put the map back into the Azure Dew bracelet. Yiqing Luo, do you think you can trap me? The man tried hard. The ruthlessness in his eyes made one feel cold. Yiqing Luo's face didn't show any signs of panic. She looked at the man with a faint smile. I indeed can't trap you, but I know how to make you disappear. The expression on the man's face suddenly froze. Yiqing Luo turned one round and looked at the surrounding environment. If it wasn't for your appearance, I might not understand until now. She paused slightly. Then, she looked the man in the eyes and said word by word, Everything here is fake. Yes, it was fake. Everything he saw in front of him was fake, regardless of the mural. Furthermore, he entered the graveyard through the mural. It was all fake, including this man in front of her, who looked exactly the same as DMO Xian, totally unable to differentiate the real from the fake, was also fake. From the moment she saw the mural to the moment she entered the cemetery, she had been having a very strange feeling. She finally understood what was so strange about it, because everything was going too smoothly. Whether it was the murals, the graveyard, or the man in front of him, it was all because of the urgent need and hope in her mind. Therefore, this place had created an illusory realm according to her thoughts. The man in front of her was not DMO Xian, but he was indeed DMO Xian. It was the DMO Xian she had imagined. Therefore, She could not tell whether the man in front of her was real or not. However, she had always believed that Dmo Xian would not hurt her. Even if the four realms were destroyed and all living things were reborn, Dmo Xian would never hurt her. Therefore, ever since Dmo Xian laid his hands on her, she began to doubt. Illusory heart double-sided lake is based on a person's inner heart. It creates a mirrored world. If one's willpower is weak, it is very easy to sink into the mirrored world. Am I right? Bookmark, easy to read. Chapter 44:36. So what was she thinking? The next moment, what would appear? But what appeared was not in accordance with the thoughts in her mind, but intentionally or unintentionally, it was guiding her to fall into this mirror image world. For example, the murals. For example, the human totem on the graveyard. For example, Dmo Xian. If earlier, because of the murals and the human totem, she had completely fallen into the greed of the Emperor of God or the Emperor of God's tomb, it was very likely that she would not be able to break through the forbidden spell in her body, not to mention regaining her strength. If earlier, because she did not believe in Dmo Xian and believed that the man in front of her was Dmo Xian himself and was unable to fight back, or because of the betrayal of the person she loved and the pain, she was very likely to never be able to walk out of this pain. Or perhaps she would die in the hands of the Dmo Xian in her imagination. No wonder, when Dmo Xian brought her here, he said one sentence. He said that with her willpower, she would definitely succeed, because he believed that she would not be deceived by the mirror image world. And she was clear-headed because of her trust in Dmo Xian. So, she survived unscathed. Yiqing Luo's long and narrow eyes. The corners of her eyes rose slightly, staring at the man in front of her without blinking. Your mission has failed. It's time to disappear. As her words fell, Yi Zichen's expression changed. That stiff and motionless man's figure, like smoke, slowly disappeared in front of Yiqing Luo. Luo lass. Luo lass. She heard old man Song's anxious voice. When Yiqing Luo turned back, she saw old man Song's ethereal body floating behind her. His face was full of anxiety. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo looked at old man Song. What's the matter with you? We were chatting earlier, and suddenly you stared straight ahead. No matter how I called you, you didn't respond. Old man Song heard her reply and heaved a sigh of relief. You almost scared me to death. I called you for so long, but you didn't respond and suddenly went crazy, attacking the air. He paused, and his tone became dignified. What did you encounter earlier? Yiqing Luo heard that and was stunned for a moment. If she remembered correctly, did old man Song consciously go into seclusion because he saw Dmo Xian appearing? That was also an illusion. This mirror image world was indeed impressive. It's all right. Let's leave this place first and meet up with Xian. Yiqing Luo had no intention to tell him about the mirage that she had just encountered. She glanced at the red mist around her. Because her rationality was becoming more and more clear, the red mist gradually dispersed. They did not converge on her as they had before. How do we leave? Old man Song floated to Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Yiqing Luo pondered for a moment and said, This place is formed according to my thoughts, so as long as I want to leave, it should be very easy for me to leave. She paused and closed her eyes slightly. In that instant, the thoughts in his mind were slowly cleared away. When she opened her eyes, in front of him was a sea of mirrors. Above, below, left, and right, they were all sparkling mirrors. As far as the eye could see, he also felt a little dizzy. These mirrors were the assistants to form the illusion. Yiqing Luo was just about to raise her hand to touch the mirror in front of her when she was stopped by old man Song. Don't touch anything here. It's very likely that any random mirror will bring you to a different space. Yiqing Luo's hand paused and retracted. Chapter 44:37. Concentrate your attention. Old man Song reminded. Yiqing Luo took a deep breath to keep her emotions in the calmest state. In this place, as long as her consciousness was slightly loosened, there was a high possibility that she would be caught by the mirror image and create an illusion. She didn't have the energy to fight with the people in the mirror image world. According to Old Man Song's guidance, plus her own exploration, Yiqing Luo finally found the exit from the thousands of mirror images. Just passed through the exit. In front of her was a dense forest, and she was suspended in the air, standing in the middle of the lake which was cut into two. Before she could regain her senses, her delicate body was brought into someone's arms. The familiar and elegant sandalwood scent instantly lingered in her nostrils. Lil Luoa. The man's voice was slightly hoarse and revealed a sense of joy of regaining a lost treasure. He used both his hands to encircle her, as if he wanted to knead her whole body into his body. The overbearing, masculine aura showed his longing for her. Yiqing Luo was still in a daze. She allowed Dmo Xian to hug her. There was no rejection, but there was no response. Lil Luo. Dmo Xian sensed something was wrong with Yiqing Luo and immediately pulled her away, looking at her worriedly. Yiqing Luo's hands suddenly stretched out to his face. She pinched him on the cheek with all her strength. The face of the handsome man, who was peerless in his generation, was pinched flat by the girl's hands. The man was stunned. Then, a doting smile appeared on his face. He allowed the young lady's actions and didn't stop her. Between his brows, there was a young lady's tenderness. After pinching for a while, Yiqing Luo blinked her eyes and stared straight at Dmo Xian. Are not an illusion. A sexy, deep laugh overflowed from the man's thin lips. He stretched out his hand again and brought the young lady into his arms. It's been hard on you, my Lil Luo. This was the disadvantage of the illusory, hard double-sided lake. Those who entered the lake would either sink into the illusion of the lake and never be able to come out, or, after going through several rounds in the lake, the one who walked out was unable to believe it. Reality was reality. The moment she left the twin-faced lake, she was hugged by Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo indeed thought for a moment that she was in another illusion. However, in the illusion, she could rely on Dmo Xian to distinguish the illusion. And now, she was relying on Dmo Xian to ascertain that this was the real world. Ah Xian, I did it. The forbidden spell on my body has been broken. Yiqing Luo buried her head in his arms. Her tone was filled with complacency. Dmo Xian's large palm caressed the young lady's hair. I know you can do it. Yiqing Luo recalled what happened at the bottom of the lake. She muttered to herself for a moment and continued. I also discovered some secrets regarding me. Dmo Xian's palm paused slightly as he lowered his eyes to look at the young lady. Then now. Is Lil Luo ready to take on the next challenge? You knew about it long ago, right? Yiqing Luo remembered that Dmo Xian had mentioned the importance of the Heaven's Pivot map previously. Presumably, from that time onwards, Dmo Xian had already guessed many things. At that time, I didn't want you to bear such a heavy burden so early. To tell the truth, I also don't want you to know about it so early. Dmo Xian sighed. Secluded palace is pressing too hard, so you have no choice but to hasten your footsteps to make yourself stronger. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address. Chapter 4438. With pressure, there be motivation. Yiqing Luo looped her arms around his neck as she smiled at him. I will guard what belongs to me and will work hard to make myself stronger, trying not to become your burden. To me, you've never been a burden. The man's long arm locked her tightly as his magnetic, deep voice was extremely pleasant to the ears. You are my motivation. Yiqing Luo's brows were like a blossoming flower, brilliant and resplendent. Their four eyes met, flowing with warmth and sweetness. The surroundings seemed to have pink bubbles as it kept on spreading. Cough, cough, cough. Old Man Song's voice was heard from the Azure Dew bracelet. The both of you, even if you're lovey-dovey, you need to pay attention to the timing. Now isn't the time for you to be lovey-dovey. Yiqing Luo's face didn't turn red, nor did her heart skip a beat. It wasn't easy to escape from death. Of course, I need my own man's love to comfort me. Old Man Song's spiritual body floated out from the azure dew bracelet. Now that you're done comforting her, shouldn't you settle the proper matters? Proper matters? Yi Qing Luo tilted her head. Old Man Song's face was filled with disappointment. You've just regained your ability and broke through the meridians in your body, so you can take the opportunity to advance. Don't tell me you don't want to take this opportunity to enter the azure dew bracelet to cultivate? Yi Qing Luo was just about to open her mouth. Old Man Song's face was filled with disappointment. Don't forget, you don't have any extra time now. Entering the Purgatory Tower is your only choice now. Purgatory Tower? She had forgotten about it. Her azure dew bracelet had 12 levels of purgatory. She had only passed through 4 levels. That was indeed the best place to advance. What Old Man Song said is right. Dmo Xian caressed the young lady's hair. Take the opportunity now to enter the Purgatory Tower to advance first. I'll wait for you here. She had just returned to his side. Was she going to make him continue to wait? Furthermore, did she really have the time to enter the Purgatory Tower now? As though he could tell what Yi Qing Luo was thinking, the man's broad palm cupped her cheeks, treating her like a precious treasure as he slowly lowered his head, looking close to her face. I've set up an enchantment around the world group's surroundings. If the people from the heaven realm really break in, I will sense it, he explained in a gentle voice, easily soothing the anxiety and uneasiness in Yi Qing Luo's heart. Don't worry about how long I'll wait for you, because no matter how long it takes, I'll always be by your side. Yi Qing Luo's pupils reflected the man's peerless looks. Their eyes met for a long time. Her pink lips curled up into a smile, and she nodded vigorously. I won't let you wait for too long. He could grow a little. It would be relatively safer. He had the time and the opportunity to become stronger. She had to seize this opportunity. After Yi Qing Luo entered the azure dew bracelet, she was dragged into the Purgatory Tower by Old Man Song. He didn't give her the slightest chance to breathe. Layer after layer of purgatory trials were activated without interruption. Yi Qing Luo was almost completely exhausted. Old Man Song looked at the sweaty girl in the Purgatory Tower, his eyes filled with concern and hope. Now, things had developed to this point. There was no way to turn the situation around. Even if Yi Qing Luo didn't have the so-called Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, and didn't have the so-called Divine Emperor's Tomb secret, those people who got the news would not let Yi Qing Luo off. Moreover, Yi Qing Luo indeed had it. He could only try his best to let Yi Qing Luo have more ways to protect her life. End of this chapter. Chapter 4439. Little child. Yet, he had to bear so much pressure. Only Yi Qing Luo. She would be able to hold on. Old Man Song sighed. His spiritual body floated and floated, following the azure dew bracelet, and floated outside. The young girl sat cross-legged on the spot, her face calm and her eyes closed. And the man was sitting opposite her. Completely disregarding the dirt and mess on the ground, he sat on the ground. A purple robe spread on the ground. His vision fell on the young girl's face without blinking, paying attention to the young girl's situation at all times. Seeing Old Man Song's spiritual body, Dmo Xian's eyes moved slightly. Do you have time to chat? Old Man Song floated over. Dmo Xian looked at Yi Qing Luo and nodded slightly. Old Man Song's illusory figure lightly floated to his side. You. Old Man Song opened his mouth, but didn't know how to ask. Dmo Xian looked at him and said indifferently, You want to ask this lord if I will take away the Tianshu map, right? Dmo Xian's straightforward words made Old Man Song's expression slightly awkward. This lord is just. This lord understands. Dmo Xian wasn't angry. This lord knows you're doing this for little Luo. Old Man Song's two hands crossed together, clasped tightly. That girl believes in you, so much that even if you want her life, she will give it to you with a smile. This lord has no intention of doubting you. Just want to confirm. Old Man Song. Dmo Xian's calm and indifferent voice interrupted his somewhat chaotic explanation. This lord understands your concern. His gaze returned back to Yi Qing Luo, as his gaze was filled with gentleness and pampering. Right from the start, this lord had indeed gone to Nirvana Realm for the Tianshu map, but after meeting Lil Luoker, this lord's motive for staying in Nirvana Realm was only for her. His voice was deep and magnetic, word by word. Even if little Luo wants this lord's life, this lord will not hesitate to give it to her. Old Man Song stared at Mo Xian's face. After a long while, he suddenly laughed. Your feelings towards that girl is still as sincere as ever. Mo Xian did not speak. Old Man Song laughed for a while. His incorporeal figure, which seemed like it could be blown away by a gust of wind, took a step back and floated in the air. Actually, this old man is very worried. Her secrets are related to the development of the various realms. If someone finds out about her secrets, the world will fall into chaos. She definitely doesn't want to be a burden to you. Old Man Song lightly sighed. Although she doesn't say anything on the surface, in reality, she cares about this matter more than anyone else in her heart. What she doesn't want the most is to become your burden, to drag you down. This lord knows. Mo Xian's thin lips curled into a shallow arc. That was towards Yi Qing Luo, a unique gentleness. This lord has always seen her hard work, so, no matter how reluctant this lord is, this lord will give her space to grow. His words fell. His eyes were already looking at Old Man Song. No matter what, I will accompany her at her side. Even if she is worried about dragging me down and escapes from my side, I will still capture her and bring her back. One sentence easily resolved the tangled matter in Old Man Song's heart. Yes, he was just worried, because Yi Qing Luo was too stubborn. She was worried that she would drag the people around her down and bear the external pressure alone. Chapter 4440. But now with Mo Xian's guarantee. Old Man Song wasn't worried anymore, because no matter what decision Yi Qing Luo made, as long as Mo Xian didn't agree to it, Mo Xian would definitely have a way to dispel Yi Qing Luo's bad thoughts. Old Man Song's figure floated up. That lass has a Mr. Right like you, I can rest assured. He laughed loudly. His figure turned more and more transparent. Then, it disappeared in a thin air. Mo Xian's gaze returned back to the young lady. His gaze was gentle and affectionate, and the curve of his lips released an irresistible charm. Lil Luo, I will always be by your side, always. In the depths of Heaven Cliff Ridge, Yin Xiao, Yi, and the rest waited anxiously. After Yi Qing Luo and Mo Xian left, their hearts were unable to calm down. They sat on the same spot for quite some time. Yin Xiao Yi simply couldn't suppress the worry in her heart, and with a swish, she threw the stone in her hand. I'll go over there to calm down. If she continued to suppress it, their worries towards Yi Qing Luo would be even greater. Even if they understood that Yi Qing Luo left with Mo Xian to undo the forbidden curse in her body. Even if they knew that the Overlord was around, Yi Qing Luo wouldn't have any problems. But they still couldn't help but worry. Adding on to the fact that they knew that outside Heaven Cliff Ridge, numerous forces had gathered to deal with Yi Qing Luo. They were worried again. When Mo Xian and Yi Qing Luo left to find a way to undo the forbidden curse in their bodies, would they meet those people, no matter how powerful the Overlord and Qing Luo were? But what if the other party had more people? What if the other party had sinister tricks? The more she thought, the more confused Yin Xiao Yi's heart became. She had just stood up and had yet to walk into the forest. Xiao Jin pulled her back. Don't go away. Don't forget, this is Heaven Cliff Ridge. Heaven Cliff Ridge was filled with unknown dangers, and no one knew what would happen in the next second. Ah, Jin! Yin Xiao Yi grabbed Xiao Jin's collar tightly. I'm worried about her. I'm really worried about her. Everyone is worried about Qing Luo. Xiao Jin held her hand. Moreover, Qing Luo must be worried about us, so we must not do anything to Qing Luo. Little Jin is right. Zomo's careless voice rang out. The venerable sovereign has set up a barrier around here. None of us knows what will happen if we walk out of the barrier. As he spoke, he even touched his dark red lips with a faint smile. This young master and Ah Wu are staying here to protect you. If you go too far, and something happens to you, it won't be this young master's responsibility. What nonsense are you talking about? Kitty Lee's claw hammered his chest. Big Sister Xiao is also concerned about Big Sister. It's fine if you don't comfort her, but you're still making sarcastic remarks from the side. I owe my little wildcat. Zomo put on a pained expression and grabbed her little hand. This young master is telling her not to wander too far away. This is also for her safety. That's why I'm reminding her. Kitty Lee harumphed heavily. Yin Xiaoyi's expression darkened as she pursed her lips tightly. Xiao Jin exerted strength and pulled her into his arms. All right, don't think so much. Believe in Qing Luo. Believe in the venerable sovereign. Yin Xiao buried her head in Xiao Jin's arms as her little hand clutched his robe tightly. She raised her head and looked at Xiao Jin with an aggrieved look, just as she was about to open her mouth to act coquettishly. Suddenly, her peripheral vision fell onto a certain spot behind Xiao Jin. Chapter 44-41. There's someone. Yin Xiao stretched out her hand and grabbed Xiao Jin's arm, pulling him behind her as she stared coldly in front. Following Yin Xiao Yi's words, the few of them immediately looked towards the direction which she was looking at. They saw the dense forest not too far away. The lush leaves were shaking with all their might, as though something was shuttling through the dense forest. The few of them instantly became alert. The dense forest was in turmoil. Everyone was silent for quite some time, following the degree of shaking of the leaves. The few of them could tell that the degree of shaking was getting nearer to them. Very quickly, a few figures dressed in black robes appeared. 5 of them were tall, and their faces were ferocious as they emitted a vicious aura. The 5 of them had a cautious look on their faces as they peeped out of the lush leaves and looked around. Their gazes suddenly fell onto a few youngsters who were either standing or sitting in front of them. Both parties sized each other up for a long time. The leader's gaze fell onto Huangfu Sheng as his expression sunk. You're the young master of the Huangfu family? I heard that you're familiar with the eldest young miss of the Gu residence. Since you're here, doesn't that mean that the eldest young miss of the Gu residence is here? That man opened his mouth and questioned them in a rude and unreasonable manner. The few of them present were all handsome and elegant looking, and their ages looked to be in their teens or 20s. And they looked extremely unfamiliar. The 5 black-robed men totally didn't put them in their eyes. Huangfu Sheng, who was called out, frowned as he stood up. Who are you? You don't need to care who we are. That man saw that Huangfu Sheng didn't rebuke and sneered. Hand over the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, otherwise. Don't blame us for not showing mercy. She's not here. Huangfu Sheng's expression was solemn. Not here. That man's expression twisted as he exchanged glances with the other 4 beside him. Following that, he looked ferocious as he looked around the surroundings. They indeed didn't discover Yi Qing Luo's figure. Boss, we've worked so hard to get to where we are now, and so many of our brothers have died. We can't just let it go like this. The black-robed man behind him had a sinister look as he sized up the surrounding people. We'll tie her up and force the eldest young miss of the Gu residence to appear. The few black-robed men's expressions turned cold as they revealed a sinister smile. They heard the news from the Dark Abyss Palace and found their way here. Gu Zishi lowered her voice and held Huangfu Sheng's arm. Sheng, be careful. The fact that they're here means that a large number of people have already entered the Horizon Ridge. Human ambition and desire could drive them, and they were not afraid of any hardships or dangers. Even though he knew how dangerous the Tianya Ridge was, he didn't care. But he still walked in fearlessly. Someone sacrificed to pave the road. Eventually, someone would come looking for him. Now, he had met them. But what if those people who came and met Yi Qing Luo? This thought caused the expressions of the few of them to instantly turn cold. The young boys and girls looked at each other. He could see the same emotion in the other party's eyes. Worried for Yi-Ching Luo, wanted to do something for her. Bang! The few of them shot out like sharp arrows. As the air surged, countless piercingly cold, sharp lights flashed. The 5 of them probably didn't expect this. They hadn't made a move yet. These brats, who hadn't even grown their hair, yet actually dared to take the initiative to attack them. When the wind from their palms landed on them, only then did they react and quickly dodge. Boom! The strong, profound wave brushed past their bodies. The entire ground cracked. The few of them were also sent flying by this strong wind. Chapter 44-42. The 5 black-robed men's expressions had a huge change, feeling that their dignity was being challenged as they bellowed malevolently. "You're looking for death." They all struck out in unison. 3 couples were right there, exchanging blows with the 5 black-robed men. The entire dense forest was filled with the surging, majestic aura of profound waves. Whereas on the other side, Kitty Lee clenched her little claws as she stared intently at the battle. When she saw the precipitous situation, her little body kept on twisting, trying to struggle out of the man's embrace. But the arm around her waist was locked onto her tightly. Kitty Lee couldn't take it anymore as her little claws scratched Zomo's arm. "Let go of Kitty. Kitty wants to go over and help." The man lowered his head slightly. His overly long black hair fell onto Kitty Lee's shoulder. The man's flirtatious thin lips curled up as he laughed lightly. "Little wildcat, be obedient and accompany me to watch the show. Don't move around. If you're not going to help, Kitty will help." Kitty Lee puffed her cheeks. Looking at his companions fighting, Yi Zichen felt a chill, but she just stood by the side. How could she stand here with a clear conscience? Emo turned his head as he looked at the 2 people who were leaning against the tree with an indifferent expression. "Help? No need." Gue Wu didn't even lift his eyelids. It's a rare chance to train. Zoemo looked at Ghost Thief. Ghost Thief touched the golden ingot on his waist as he shrugged. What Gue Wu said is right. Zoemo retracted his gaze. Heard that. Kitty Lee pursed her lips. Then, Kitty also wants to train. But I can't bear to. Zoemo rubbed her head. Be good. Believe in the person whom your sister Qing Luo has chosen. While the 2 of them were talking, the other side was already locked in battle. The surrounding forest had already turned into ruins. Gravel flew everywhere as the trees fell onto the ground. The atmosphere was tense as the world group's few people's battle intent was burning even more vigorously. Just at this moment, Gue Wu's ears moved slightly as his expression congealed as he looked ahead. Ghost Thief also looked ahead at the same time. I didn't expect so many people to come. Zoemo looked over there as he clicked his tongue with an astonished look. Not far in front of them, a group of people and horses were charging over aggressively. Compared to the 5 people in front of him, these people's auras were much more tyrannical and ruthless. He rushed over with a murderous aura. His gaze fell on the few people who were fighting. This was just a prelude. Immediately after, countless men and horses, one group after another, walked over from not far away. The few people who were fighting each other realized that something was wrong and stopped. He surveyed his surroundings. They were all stunned. At this time, more teams were arriving one after another. Yin Xiao immediately spotted a person in that group of people. By May, among the various groups of people, there was a group of about 10 people standing in a position that was not too prominent. The person in the lead was a young, beautiful, and extremely charming woman in fluttering white clothes. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. Ba Mei changed her face again. The expressions of the few of them became extremely complicated. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, one could tell who she was with a single glance. From her posture, One could tell who she was with a single glance. The expressions of the few of them immediately became extremely complicated. The few of them's expressions instantly turned extremely complicated. Chapter 44-43. Bai Mei's words immediately caused the surrounding troops to look around warily. They who had ventured into Tianyar Ridge to reach this place. Wasn't their motive to capture Yi Qing Luo? Everyone was very clear about it. But this purpose was so bluntly stated. Everyone subconsciously treated the bunch of people around them as their enemies. After all, everyone's motive was the same. I advise you, you'd better hand over Yi Qing Luo, Gu Residence's eldest miss obediently, in case you get implicated by her. Bai Mei's eyes were filled with a chilly glint. As though she thought of something, her lips couldn't help but snigger. You guys are after all from Nirvana Realm, through the Overlord's power to come to Heaven Realm. Heaven Realm can't be compared to your Nirvana Realm. This isn't the time for you to show off your so-called loyalty. Once the people from Heaven Realm make a move, there's a possibility that you will die without a complete corpse. What? Nirvana Realm? Why would people from the lower realm come to Heaven Realm? Lowly commoners from the lower realm? How dare they come to Heaven Realm? Even if it's the Overlord, he should also abide by our Heaven Realm's rules. Not just anyone can be brought to our heavenly realm. The faces of the people in the surroundings changed tremendously when they heard the words. The gazes they shot at them were filled with disdain and enmity. Bai Mei's red lips curled up in satisfaction as her smile became increasingly sinister. I advise you to tell us Yi Qing Luo's whereabouts quickly. I know, Yi Qing Luo values you very, very much and cares about you. But if you insist on not listening, various powerhouses cultivators might use you to threaten Yi Qing Luo to come out. When she said the latter part, Bai Mei intentionally slowed down her speed. The surrounding people seemed to have received some hints. In the midst of eye contact, suddenly, a group of men and horses charged towards Yin Xiao, Yi, and the rest at high speed. In case someone snatched the first opportunity, seeing that there were people moving. Soon, people from all directions rushed over in unison. The speed was fast, and the profound wave was sharp. It made the few young men's expressions changed. And those 5 black-robed men who exchanged blows with them earlier also had a dazed look. Why did they suddenly lose their scenes? Be careful. There was a cry of surprise. The battle instantly broke out. This time, Gue Wu and the rest did not stand by the side and watch the show. He quickly rushed into the midst of the troops. Oh, Yi Qing Luo suddenly felt an indescribable pain in her heart. She paused for a moment. He was almost slapped by the mountain-like beast in front of him. She focused her mind and leaped, dodging the beast's attack. That uneasy premonition in his heart still persisted. He had a feeling that something had happened. Focus. Beside his ear, Old Man Song's stern voice sounded. This is the 8th level of purgatory. Don't think that you can underestimate the enemy, just because you are strong now. The 8th level of purgatory is definitely not as simple as you think. Yi Qing Luo bit her lower lip tightly. He managed to dodge the beast's continuous attacks. She tried her best to restrain her emotions and calm herself down. She did not know how long she had stayed in the Purgatory Tower. He only knew she went from the 4th level of the Purgatory to the 8th level. There was no interval in between, no rest. She had been trying her best to break through. Until the 7th level started. She was starting to feel exhausted. And now to the 8th level's arena. Chapter 44-44. Any slight carelessness. There was a high possibility of being hurt by this giant beast. If she was distracted again, this 8th floor, she might fail. No matter where this uneasiness came from. No matter what, she had to get through this hurdle. Her brothers were still waiting for her to return. She needed enough strength. Her brothers were working hard for her. She couldn't give up easily. She calmed down. After an hour of a prolonged battle of attrition, the Heavenly Dragon King's army finally arrived. Yi Qing Luo finally defeated the 8th floor's giant beast. She rubbed her forehead tiredly and looked up at the totem that was flashing with the word 9. She shook her head. Don't continue to the next floor. When Yiqing Luo walked out of the Purgatory Tower, Old Man Song floated over from the side. Lass, do you need a rest? Yiqing Luo leaned against the side and sat down. I'm going out. What's the matter? Old Man Song saw her serious expression and thought of her absent-minded state in the battle. Why did you absent-mindedly in the battle earlier? I'm panicking. Yiqing Luo pressed her heart. Is Xian still outside? What could happen to the Overlord? He has been guarding you. Old Man Song had been watching Yiqing Luo's progress from the Azure Dew bracelet after chatting with DMO Xian. He thought Yiqing Luo missed DMO Xian too much because absence makes the heart grow fonder. Yiqing Luo shook her head. No, maybe something happened to everyone. She had signed a contract with Kitty Li and Long Yunjian. She could sense their condition. She suddenly had such a strong feeling of uneasiness. It must have something to do with them. Not waiting for Old Man Song to answer, her consciousness had already left the Azure Dew bracelet. The moment she opened her eyes, she saw DMO Xian's back facing her, looking at the sky in front. The air was filled with a cold and solemn atmosphere. She hadn't opened her mouth. The man seemed to have sensed something and turned around. Little Luo, He saw Yiqing Luo and opened his arms to her. You've worked hard. Seeing Yiqing Luo appear, he wasn't surprised at all. He seemed to have guessed that she would come out today. Yiqing Luo walked towards him, looked up and saw the man's tired expression. She reached out and wrapped her arms around his waist. Xian, did something happen to them? Let's go over first. DMO Xian did not answer directly, but this sentence represented everything. Yiqing Luo's heart thumped hard. She suppressed the uneasiness in her heart. Okay. The two sat on Lil Nine's back. He quickly headed in the direction of his brothers. He had yet to get close. Dense, profound waves rippled in the air. It was as if it could destroy heaven and earth. The air had already been enveloped by this enormous, profound wave. Sand and stones flew everywhere, and trees were uprooted one by one. Yiqing Luo's expression congealed. When Lil Nine neared, the situation below was extremely clear. About 100 profound practitioners surrounded the few people in the middle in a frenzy. Even with the ghost martial artist, Ghost Bandit, and Zomo's protection, those people were still having a hard time. Their bodies were covered with sporadic bloodstains. It was no longer clear whether it was the blood of the other party or his own. His entire body was in a mess, and he was in an extremely sorry state. But on the faces of those young people, however, it was an expression of unwavering determination and unwavering determination. Their eyes were burning with battle intent and flames, as if it could burn all beliefs. Bam! A strong airflow swept Huang Fu Sheng and Gu Zixi out. The two fell heavily to the ground. Blood overflowed from the corners of their lips. But they didn't retreat at all. They stood up tightly and held the weapons in their hands tightly. Chapter 44-45. Ziqing. Another cry was heard. Tong Ziqing's figure was also sent flying as she fell heavily onto the ground. Long Yunjian flew forward in an attempt to help Tong Ziqing up. Tong Ziqing's expression congealed. Group leader, be careful behind you. After Long Yunjian helped Tong Ziqing up, he hurriedly blocked the attacks from behind. This inevitably caused him to be injured on top of his own injuries. The other party's numbers were simply too many. Moreover, the disparity between their abilities and Long Yunjian's group was extremely huge. Even if there were Ghost Marshal and Ghost Thief, plus Zo-Mo, they were unable to resist against so many people. It could be said, these young men and young ladies were already extremely lucky to be able to maintain till now and not die. Yiqing Luo's eyes seemed to have been dyed with thick ink as it surged with surging waves. The world group's brothers, after falling down, stood up again. After falling down, stood up again. Their entire bodies were covered in blood as it hurt Yiqing Luo's eyes. Lil Luo, DMO Xian held onto the young lady's shoulder as he spoke in a warm voice. They're all fine. This is a necessary path for them to grow. Yiqing Luo's petite body was trembling slightly. The black whirlpool in her eyes was unable to be stopped. Suddenly, her gaze was fixed on a certain spot. A white-robed figure, in the midst of the chaos, speedily headed towards Long Yunjian's direction. That figure's speed was extremely fast. His eyes were filled with a sinister coldness. A powerful sinister qi encircled that person's body, breaking through the surrounding people who were blocking his way, charging straight towards Long Yunjian. By Mei, Yiqing Luo's pupils constricted as she gritted her teeth and spat out these two words. Following that, she leapt upwards as her figure speedily headed downwards. Lil Luo, or DMO Xian, didn't catch hold of her as he watched the young lady charging into the crowd like a raging flame. Between his brows, he continued to reveal helplessness. He took a look at his sleeve as his gaze turned icy cold. Bai Su, if Bai Mei hurts Lil Luo, no matter what you say, it's useless. There seemed to be something moving in his sleeves, but there was no response. Bai Mei sneered coldly. She lowered her eyes and looked at the thing shrouded in black mist in her palm. Then, she looked at Long Yunjian, who was supporting Tong Ziqing and doing his best to repel the profound practitioners in front of them. Her smile grew wider. It was getting closer. He was close. It was getting closer and closer. Bai Mei was so excited that her hands were trembling as she held the black mist. Amidst the chaotic battle, no one noticed her approach. Bai Mei raised her hand and placed it on Long Yunjian's shoulder. Suddenly, a majestic force rushed over. He directly bumped into Bai Mei and Long Yunjian. Bai Mei was knocked back 2 steps by the shockwave from the blast. A sharp blade grazed the skin of her wrist. Bright red blood gushed out. Bai Mei clutched her wrist in pain. The object, shrouded in black fog in his palm, also disappeared in an instant. Bai Mei gritted her teeth and glared in the direction of the attack. The first thing he saw was the young girl's beautiful and cold face. She was stunned at first, and then an uncontrollable jealousy and hatred appeared in her eyes. Following that, she raised her voice and shouted, "Yiqing Luo, I didn't expect you to show yourself." This shout of hers, it instantly caused the gazes of the profounders in the surroundings to shoot over in unison. Yiqing Luo, it's the eldest young miss of the Gu residence, the person who owns the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, and knows the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Where? Everyone's gazes were directed towards Yiqing Luo. Their eyes were filled with unconcealable greed. Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 44-46. Those people's gazes seemed as though they wanted to swallow Yiqing Luo into their stomachs. Bai Mei smiled coldly and curled her red lips. She was flirtatious and flirtatious. You still dare to appear. I thought that you wanted to monopolize the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and then search for the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb alone. Monopolizing the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Finding the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb alone. These words immediately caused the surrounding crowd to burst into an uproar. What right do you have to monopolize the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade? Tell me the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Little girl, don't think that Bone Lord can guarantee your safety just because you're the first young lady of the Gu residence. If you're sensible, quickly hand over the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Countless curses and threats rose and fell one after another. Those forces that had always thought highly of themselves and called themselves reputable and noble families didn't even try to conceal their greed. Pucci, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh out. Amidst the curses and threats, the young girl's laughter was extremely abrupt. Everyone looked at each other in bewilderment at his laughter. What are you laughing at? A powerful person shouted in a low voice. Me? Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled up slightly with a chilly smile. I'm laughing at your stupidity. You. Everyone's expression changed drastically as they glared at the girl in front of them. Who would have thought that she would still be so daring when surrounded by so many people? Facing the infuriated gazes of the crowd, Yiqing Luo's brows were filled with laziness as her expression didn't change at all. She smiled coldly and continued, "If you weren't stupid, why would you ask such a stupid question?" As she spoke, the young girl's gaze swept across the crowd, and she laughed mockingly. "What right do I have to monopolize the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, just based on the fact that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade is mine? It's my stuff. What do you do to me?" This sentence was also an indirect admission. She did indeed possess the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Everyone's gazes towards Yiqing Luo became even more fiery. Bai Mei quietly retreated to the back of the crowd. Hearing Yiqing Luo's words, he looked at the gazes of the people around him. Her red lips curled into a proud smile. Did this Yiqing Luo really think that she could ignore all the cultivators just because she was an overlord? She actually admitted that the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade was with her. What does stupidity mean? This is what you call stupid, right? Heh, Yiqing Luo is dead meat today. She would just stand right here and admire Yiqing Luo's pathetic state and humiliation before her death. The more Bai Mei thought about it, the more excited she became. It was as if he had already seen the scenes that he had imagined appearing in front of his eyes. Suddenly, the girl's indifferent voice rang out again. "Stop looking. No matter how you look, what's mine won't be yours." As for the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, where did you hear about it? Everyone was infuriated by Yiqing Luo's arrogant and rude words. One by one, they glared at her with gloomy expressions. "Little girl, I advise you to be obedient. Don't talk nonsense. You'll be the one who suffers in the end. Don't try to quibble. Tell him the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. You're a young lady. Even if you keep this secret, it's of no use to you." Numerous threats, persuasions, and coercive words came one after another. Chapter 44-47. This news should be spread out from the Palace of Darkness. I forgot to tell you. A few days ago, this young lady called Bai Mei led a bunch of people from the Palace of Darkness and surrounded me at Heaven's Edge Ridge. That day, she snatched quite a number of things from me. Whether or not the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb was among them, I don't know. Yiqing Luo's shifting of the blame was done beautifully. This sentence was set out. Bai Mei's expression changed. "What nonsense are you sprouting? When did I surround you?" "Heh, what kind of trash is the Palace of Darkness? Don't you all have any idea?" Yiqing Luo scoffed coldly. Quite a number of gazes turned towards Bai Mei. Using the same gaze which she used to look at Yiqing Luo earlier, looking at her. Bai Mei's heart thumped as her face turned pale. I didn't. She did it on purpose to divert your attention." "Do I need to divert my attention? If I divert my attention, won't they snatch my profound jade heart?" Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. "But you all, after snatching my things, you intentionally spread the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Don't tell me you're doing it on purpose, trying to concentrate all your firepower on me alone?" Following Yiqing Luo's words, the surrounding people's gazes towards Bai Mei were filled with a strange greed. Actually, no matter if what Yiqing Luo said was true or false, they would choose to believe. This was a matter related to the Divine Emperor's tomb. Moreover, what Yiqing Luo said wasn't without reason. Yiqing Luo had the Divine Phoenix Profound Jade Heart on her, and they snatched it away. A waste without a profound jade heart. Why would she need to occupy the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Bai Mei realized that everyone's gaze towards her was totally different from before. All her complacency had turned into despair. She staggered backwards as her eyes widened. "No, she's lying. I didn't." "The secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb is on her." Bai Mei shook her head frantically as she stared at Yiqing Luo venomously. But she saw Yiqing Luo's lips curling upwards as she gave a sly and teasing smile. Her brows were filled with fooling, as if laughing at her stupidity. Bai Mei was so infuriated that her entire body was trembling. She knew that she would not be able to escape today, but she would absolutely not let Yi Qing Luo off. You are indeed extremely stupid. How could you believe the words of that slut? She was deliberately stalling for time so that she could activate the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade in her body. Once the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade is activated, none of you will escape. Since they all believed that the Divine Emperor's tomb was with her. That's great. Yi Qing Luo, who possessed the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, was not having it easy either. Bai Mei had already given up on herself. This roar. This made everyone immediately look towards Yi Qing Luo in alarm. It is not that they are easily swayed. Instead, it was because they had to prioritize their own interests. They could not afford to make any mistakes. He would rather kill the wrong person than let him go. As for the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, everyone had only heard of its uses, but he had never truly come into contact with it. Because of this, he was unable to determine whether what Bai Mei had said was true or false. Regardless of whether it was true or not, they couldn't afford to gamble. Bai Mei was surrounded and forced to reveal the location of the Divine Emperor's tomb. There were also people who speedily attacked Yi Qing Luo. They absolutely could not give Yi Qing Luo any chance to activate the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade. Qing Luo, be careful. Attacks from all directions surged over. Yin Xiao, Yi, and the others were trembling in fear as they hurriedly reminded her. Chapter 44-48. Huge profound wave with majestic power. Countless illusory attacks formed a monstrous wave. Yi Qing Luo took a look at Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing, who were blocked behind her. She couldn't shift her body. Otherwise, the two people behind her would have to bear the attacks from all directions. Yi Qing Luo's eyes turned cold as she raised her right hand. A flame bloomed on her fingertips. A fiery feather fan appeared on her fingertips. Contrasting with those slender white fingers, it was extremely fair and beautiful. Swoosh! Everyone only heard an explosive sound in the air. Their eyes were covered by the sky, full of raging flames. Bam! The earth quaked and the mountains shook. The violent energy directly collided with those cultivators' attacks. In midair, two powerful forces collided. Yi Qing Luo's body slightly retreated 2 steps. Her face was slightly pale, but her fingertips exerted more force as she gripped the handle of the fan tightly. Facing these strong cultivators from Heaven Realm and various powerhouses. If it was one-on-one, she wouldn't be so worried. But the other party was moving like a bee pupa. Just at this moment, a majestic aura rushed into the two forces. As the profound wave surged, the skies seemed to sweep out one after another whirlpool. That burst of force joined in. In an instant, a huge profound wave was produced, like layers upon layers of ripples, spreading in all directions. He easily suppressed all the attacks in the surroundings. The violent hurricane obediently stopped after coming into contact with the ripple-like undulations. The aftershock caused the group of cultivators who launched the attack to be jolted back 2 steps, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. And what was shocking was, after the rippling Xian wave shook off the countless Xian waves, it lingered around the girl in the fiery red dress. With the young lady as the center, it swept around the surroundings. It didn't go near the young lady at all. The group of cultivators who were injured were stunned. What kind of situation was this? Why didn't that unstoppable force attack Yi Qing Luo? Damn, could it be that it depended on one's looks? No, not right. Look at the sky. It's a 9-tailed fox. 9-tailed fox. Suddenly, cries of panic erupted from the crowd. Countless people subconsciously looked towards the sky. Then he saw the 9-tailed fox in the sky. His 9 tails swayed in the wind. It also shook the hearts of the crowd. 9-tailed fox. This was the 9-tailed fox that was known as the Divine Beast. In the entire world, there was only one person who had it. That person was the mysterious and powerful person who was respectfully called Venerable Sovereign. The people from the various forces suddenly recalled the words of the Huangfu clan's young masters and ladies a few days ago. Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade? The Tomb of the Divine Emperor. It must be true. That little bitch relied on this to attract Sir Dizun. If it wasn't for the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's Tomb, how could the dignified Dizun fall in love with a lowly trash from the lower domain? I was wondering why Lord Dizun would be with her. It must be because that little b asterisk tch used the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's Tomb to seduce Lord Dizun. Similar words were said by the Huangfu family. At that time, there were quite a number of forces who gave up on the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's Tomb because of the Overlord. They had not expected that. Lord Dizun really appeared. In order to save a lady, he appeared. The crowd was even more certain that what the Huangfu family's young masters and ladies said was true. Update complete. Moi. My babies, now activate the double monthly votes mode. At the end of the month, those babies with monthly votes, love you guys into this chapter. Chapter 44-49. Under everyone's gaze. That nine-tailed fox slowly landed. Everyone also clearly saw the peerless figure sitting on the back of the nine-tailed fox. A man in a flowing purple robe was lazily leaning on the soft fur of the nine-tailed fox. His luxurious and majestic posture was filled with a domineering and sharp, strong aura. After the nine-tailed fox landed, the man moved slightly. It was like a sharp, unsheathed blade, emitting a terrifying, evil aura. His peerlessly handsome face was cold and sharp, revealing a sharp and callous coldness. Everyone knew the golden half-mask was the symbol of the Overlord. But now, even if the man didn't wear a mask, everyone was sure that this was the Overlord himself. Overlord! Everyone gasped, facing this mysterious and noble man. There was an inexplicable feeling of fear in their hearts. DMO Xian leaped down from the nine-tailed fox. His every move was noble and elegant. He didn't bother about these people in front of him, whose faces were perturbed or sunken. His gentle gaze fell on Yiqing Luo. His coquettish thin lips hooked up slightly, stretched out a hand towards the young lady's direction. Yiqing Luo sensed that the profound wave, which was like a ripple, was spreading in the surroundings. She already knew. This was DMO Xian's move. Her eyes looked at her man without blinking. Her eyes were filled with excitement. Deep in her heart, she was extremely calm about DMO Xian's strength. How strong was he? His strength had exceeded her expectations. This man was her man. Yiqing Luo's eyes were burning with unswerving determination, becoming more and more intense. The stronger her man was, the more excited she was. Her goal was to walk side by side with DMO Xian. One day, she would be able to achieve her wish. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she pounced towards the direction of DMO Xian. The man held the young lady's slender wrist and firmly brought the young lady into his arms. Yiqing Luo wrapped her arms around the man's waist and was about to speak. Suddenly, a few rays of profound light flashed in front of her. Yiqing Luo's expression changed immediately. Xian. She moved her 5 fingers, and the devouring flame fan swept up a hurricane, heading straight for the direction of the profound light. Someone actually took advantage of this moment to quietly make a move behind DMO Xian's back. Bang! Boom, boom, boom. The hurricanes collided, and the profound light exploded, creating a cold and tyrannical airwave. It was like a huge mouth with its fangs and claws wide open, ready to swallow people. DMO Xian clasped the young lady's waist tightly as he pulled her into his arms and leapt into the air. He sneered. His obsidian-like eyes were filled with a piercing coldness. His sleeves fluttered in the wind. A terrifying aura shot out from his sleeve. Several screams rang out. He didn't even have time to react. That aura had already landed in the direction where the mysterious light came from. More than 10 profound practitioners fell to the ground with a plop. More than 10 of them turned pale as they pointed at DMO Xian in disbelief. He had just raised his hand. Suddenly, a look of intense pain appeared on his face. Following that, his body fell straight down. Someone stepped forward and touched the nose of the man who had fallen down. His face turned pale as he looked at the crowd. Dead, dead, dead. Everyone's heart thumped. Their gazes turned towards DMO Xian in unison. The man's cold aura and the overbearing profound wave that no one dared to approach made the man's noble and unattainable. Chapter 4450. This interlude made everyone stop the idea of Sneak attacking the Overlord. For a moment, the entire Heaven Border Ridge fell into a dead silence. After a moment of silence, Yiqing Luo looked at the brothers below. She patted DMO Xian's arm and looked at those brothers. No one opened their mouths. DMO Xian understood what she meant as he released the hand which was around her waist. The young lady was like a flame as she landed on the ground. Following her footsteps, the broken stones and grass on the ground made a rustling sound. The crowd didn't move as they stared at Yiqing Luo's actions. But no one made a move. Yiqing Luo walked slowly to Long Yunzhan's side. She first pulled Tong Ziqing's wrist and took her pulse. After ascertaining that there was nothing serious, her fingertips touched her fingers and a bottle of pills was taken out as she passed it to Long Yunzhan. Qing Luo, Tong Ziqing's lips were still oozing blood, and her usual cold eyes were sparkling. Yiqing Luo smiled at her. It's been hard on you guys. Take a rest, and leave the rest to me and Xian. Her vision looked towards the side, standing on the same spot, staring at her in a daze as their eyes were burning with passion. Yiqing Luo walked towards them. Each of them took a pulse and were given a bottle of pills. Luckily, Gue Wu, Ghost Thief, and Zhou Mo were around. They only suffered external injuries and slightly more serious internal injuries. But it wasn't to the extent of incurable. Everyone, including Gue Wu and the other two, confirmed their identities. She then heaved a sigh of relief. Your energy has recovered. Yin Xiao looked at Yiqing Luo taking out bottles of pills from the profound phoenix ring as she was extremely excited. It was able to establish a connection with the profound phoenix ring. This represented that Yiqing Luo's energy had completely recovered. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Yes, so, have a good rest. I still need you guys to fight alongside me. Little Qing Luo, aren't you worried that they are interested in the things on you? Zomo's brows rose as his peach blossom eyes revealed a sense of ridicule. Yiqing Luo turned her head as her gaze swept past the few brothers beside her. After hearing Zomo's words, the expressions of the few of them became visibly tense. Kitty Lee's eyes widened as she punched Zomo's chest with her little claws. What nonsense are you talking about? How could we? I trust them. The girl's firm tone interrupted Kitty Lee's words. Her smile was brilliant, and her charming eyes curved into a long and narrow arc. They value me more than I value myself. Besides, if they really want me, I won't hesitate to offer them up with both hands. Qing Luo. The few of them were stunned by Yiqing Luo's words. They knew, if Yiqing Luo said it out, then it meant that this was indeed what she was thinking. He offered it with both hands, such a valuable item. She was actually willing to give it to them with both hands. The girl's smile was as beautiful as a painting. Like a warm current, it seeped into everyone's hearts. Their restless hearts calmed down in that instant. They looked at each other and smiled. The originally stiff, oppressive, and suffocating atmosphere. The group in the middle of the crowd was extremely relaxed and warm. The two completely different atmospheres blended together. The crowd only felt fear and trepidation. Chapter 4451. Finally, someone could not hold it in any longer. He plucked up his courage and carefully looked at DMO Xian. His voice trembled as he said, Lord DMO Xian, could it be that you really want to obtain the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the secret of the Divine Emperor's Tomb? That person's words immediately caused everyone to turn their gazes toward that person. Who would have thought that someone would be so bold as to question the overlord directly? The profound practitioner who had been pushed out by his clan's leader also had an expression of wanting to cry, and he was so terrified that his entire body was trembling. However, due to the threatening gaze of the leader of the faction, he could only stare at him. That profound practitioner had no choice but to muster up his courage and speak again. Lord Dizun, you are already a revered existence in the Heaven Realm, and your strength has already exceeded the scope of the Heaven Realm. Why don't you give us the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's Tomb? The man's voice was trembling nonstop. Every single word was trembling. Hearing this question, Yiqing Luo, who was standing together with her brothers, raised her eyes slightly as she looked at that cultivator. Her long and narrow brows were sparkling with a biting cold glint. Yiqing Luo's gaze was piercingly cold. That profound practitioner felt uncomfortable from the piercing gaze. He rubbed his hands together and said, "Don't you want to know the answer? Don't you want to know why the Overlord is with you?" "I don't want to." Yiqing Luo replied without hesitation. The expression on her face didn't change at all. "Are you scared?" The man was so nervous that his face turned red. "Are you afraid that His Majesty's answer will hurt you? That's why you don't dare." When he asked this question, the leader of the faction had made up his mind to break the trust between the two of them, regardless of whether the Overlord answered the question or not. Or answer the question. Yiqing Luo would absolutely suspect Dmo Xian because of this. As long as Yiqing Luo started to suspect Dmo Xian, the feelings between the two of them could not be shaken. Everyone prioritizes benefits above all else. Goading? Yiqing Luo raised her brows as she laughed foolishly. "Are you silly? Why should I trust a fool like you and suspect my own man?" She wasn't stupid, and because of a single sentence from them, they had instigated discord between her and Dmo Xian. At their level, it was nothing compared to what he had encountered in the double-sided lake of the illusory heart. She had never suspected Dmo Xian at the double-sided lake. Not to mention now, that person's face turned red. The gaze of the master of power behind him was like a sharp knife, forcing him, urging him to act. "Don't ask such rubbish." Yiqing Luo's gaze slowly swept past the surrounding forces. The girl's black hair fluttered in the wind. Her fiery dress fluttered in the wind. There was a hint of indolence on that gorgeous face, and it was incomparably cold and elegant. Then, her pink lips moved slightly, and she said word by word, "What belongs to me, as long as Xian wants it, I will give it to him." This sentence was also a clear message to the crowd. Whether Dmo Xian wanted her Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade or not, as long as he asked, he would definitely give it to her. Don't talk about any other bullshit conspiracy theories. He didn't like it. Everyone's faces turned extremely ugly. He didn't expect this young girl to not play by the rules. At this moment, the purple-robed man suddenly moved and pulled the young girl into his arms. Her back was pressed against his chest. Scorching hot, the man lowered his eyes. His gaze was gentle and his voice was magnetic. "Yes, Liluo Er's things are also this lord's things." Chapter 4452. His hand slowly circled to Yiqing Luo's chest. Slender fingers pressed on her heart. The man's fingertips were gentle. The scorching touch passed through the robe to the skin. Yiqing Luo slightly raised her head to look at him. Her face was reflected in the man's obsidian-like eyes. His thin lips lightly hooked. "If this lord wants, just take it, right?" As his voice fell, his slender fingers even gently flicked her heart, causing the young lady's petite body to tremble slightly. "Yes." Yiqing Luo held his hand, her eyes firm, without any other emotions. Dmo Xian chuckled softly. The boiling hot chest behind her was also shaking up and down. This laugh, made by Mei, who was besieged by a group of people, couldn't help but burst out laughing. "Yiqing Luo, you really think that the Overlord has taken a liking to you? Ha ha ha. You still foolishly send yourself up. What's yours is his. He just wants to dig away your profound heart jade. You poor woman. Ha! Ha ha ha! The Overlord doesn't love you. He doesn't love you at all. By May's sharp voice, straining her throat to laugh nonstop. Yi Qing Luo. This girl must have been so agitated that she became stupid, right? But DMO Xian's action, indeed, would cause others to misunderstand the meaning of his words. Probably in the eyes of outsiders. DMO Xian placed his hand on her profound heart jade. Wanted to dig away her profound heart jade? Yi Qing Luo expressed. This guy was purely trying to take advantage of her. And it was openly taking advantage of her. Under by May's exaggerated laughter. Under everyone's suspicious gazes. DMO Xian hugged the slender waist of the person in his arms tightly. His voice was clear but extremely dignified. So, she belongs to this lord. Whoever dares to touch her is going against this lord. When this sentence came out from DMO Xian's mouth, the entire dense forest fell into a dead silence. Bai Mei, who was laughing crazily, stopped abruptly, like a huge slap, ruthlessly slapped on her face. DMO Xian he was using his status to pressure everyone present. He wanted to become enemies with the entire world for Yi Qing Luo. This sentence also successfully blackened the faces of several large forces at the front. Lord Dizun, we all know that your strength is extraordinary and you are an admirable hero. But, Lord Dizun, you're here alone today. Why do you have to ruin everyone's friendship for a woman? One of the leaders said with a cold expression. DMO Xian's words had already expressed his attitude. If he didn't show up now, he would be dead. He was afraid that he would really silently agree to let DMO Xian monopolize the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade. All profound practitioners wanted to obtain divine objects. Everyone wanted to enter the Tianyar Ridge. Every faction had lost more than half of their elites. Therefore, no one wanted to give up so easily. That faction leader's words were immediately met with agreement from several other faction leaders. DMO Xian faintly glanced at the direction of the voice and replied expressionlessly, "This lord has never been a hero." That faction leader's face turned red from being choked. Yi Qing Luo waved her glower flame fan impatiently. "Your words, are you openly declaring war with my Xian? Since that's the case, then there's nothing more to say. Let's fight directly." There was a type of person who wouldn't shed a tear until they saw the coffin. Did they think that they could suppress DMO Xian with their numbers? Hey, naive. Hurry up and read the latest updates. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4453. Did her baby Xian look so easy to bully? Yi Qing Luo hugged her man's arm and pointed to the direction of the powerhouse who spoke earlier. Xian, kill him. The various powerhouses. She said it so arrogantly, directly provoking all the powerhouses. She actually pushed the Overlord to make a move. They thought that she really had the guts to go against them. In the end, it was because of the Overlord that she dared to be so arrogant. In the eyes of the powerhouses, Yi Qing Luo's current action was just like a young lady who relied on the Overlord to bully others. All of them looked at Yi Qing Luo with even more disdain. The Divine Phoenix profound heart jade on such a person was simply a waste of a treasure. But the Overlord was obviously interested in that Divine Phoenix profound heart jade. If they really wanted to get the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade, they must first get past the Overlord. If it was just the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade, most of the people present would probably back off. After all, for a piece of Divine Phoenix profound heart jade, they would become enemies with the Overlord. And there must be a hole in their brains. But Yi Qing Luo not only had a piece of Divine Phoenix profound heart jade, and the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. The Divine Emperor's tomb. As long as they could get the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, and open the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, there was a possibility that they could surpass all living things in this world. They could become the next emperor of Divine Emperors. By then, why would they be afraid of DMO Xian? They couldn't just give up like this. Absolutely not. The greed and unwillingness in everyone's eyes were obvious to Yiqing Luo. Her pink lips curled up into an indecipherable cold arc d'mo. Xian's eyes were filled with adoration as he gazed at the lovely girl in his arms. His large palm gently caressed the young lady's hair as he spoke in a deep, magnetic voice. All right, just one word. The crowd instantly felt as though their hearts were beating a drum. Following that, they saw that godlike man gently place the young lady beside the group of young men and ladies. After that, with a leap, he floated in midair. The shimmering and resplendent purple light swept across the sky in a graceful manner. Boom! A profound wave exploded with a loud rumble. The surging energy in the air began to surge violently. The sudden burst of power caused the people from the other factions to be stunned for quite some time before they reacted. He hurriedly called for people to defend. However, no matter how fast they moved, they were still unable to move. No matter how strong he was. When DMO Xian's sleeves fluttered, the dark light filled the entire space. They were powerless to resist. The smell of blood and slaughter lingered in the air. As for the faction that had threatened them first, they were all shocked. The endless vortex opened its bloody mouth. Ah! A blood-curdling scream came from the vortex. That side, which was originally full of ambition, attempting to use the power of numbers to threaten DMO Xian's forces, seemed to have seen the Grim Reaper, brandishing its scythe to reap lives. Slash after slash, he reaped their lives. The majestic Xian wave spread out majestically. The other forces quickly moved away to avoid it. The scene of him dodging in a flurry. It was like a slap landing on the face of the faction that was being swallowed by the vortex. Still thinking of relying on the power of numbers? Wasn't this, in an instant, whatever power was all gone? After the blood-curdling screams stopped. Only then did the surging vortex dissipate bit by bit. End of this chapter. Chapter 4454. Earlier, there were about 20 to 30 people standing in the air. Right now, there was only a huge, deep pit, and the remnant might rippled out, vibrating in the air. Not a single figure could be seen. That powerhouse's men were completely annihilated. Just one move, an entire group of people disappeared. Everyone's hearts were beating like thunder, thumping nonstop. The moment DMO Xian appeared, it was a show of strength, directly killing those cultivators who attempted to sneak and attack. Following that, because of a sentence from Yiqing Luo, striking again, it was another instant kill. Did he really not care that he would incur the wrath of the masses? Was he really not afraid that they would join forces with the three realms to deal with him? Everyone's hearts, at this moment, were completely stunned by DMO Xian's unhesitant massacre. After DMO Xian stopped, he turned around and returned to Yiqing Luo's side, pulling the young lady into his arms. His body was emitting a chilly aura. Yiqing Luo's arms circled around his waist as she smiled. My man is so handsome. If she didn't kill the chicken to warn the monkey, those people totally had no idea what to do and would only continue to harass them. They chose to be greedy. They chose to be greedy, to be the first bird to stick out. They should pay the price for their own choice. DMO Xian rubbed the young lady's little head. Let's go. Yiqing Luo nodded as she beckoned her brothers to leave. After the deaths of the two powerhouses, everyone's hearts were burning with anxiety as they wanted to stop them. But when they saw the huge, deep pit and the 10 overcorpses by the side, they were so afraid that they didn't dare to move forward. They could only watch the group of people as they swaggered past in front of their eyes. The direction they were heading towards, the group of people who had surrounded them, couldn't help but shift their footsteps as they opened up a path. No matter how the surrounding people, no matter how resentful they were, or how many threatening gazes they shot at them, that group of people still obediently opened up a path for Yiqing Luo and her group. And just at this moment, a furious bellow rang. Huang Fu Sheng, if you dare to follow her, you will no longer be a member of my Huang Fu family. This explosive bellow. Everyone was so shocked that they all looked in that direction. Not far away, a middle-aged man in his 40s walked out from a group of people. His eyes were filled with malice as he stared in the direction that the group had left. The man wore a navy blue brocade robe and looked dignified and noble. Everyone in the surroundings recognized the identity of the middle-aged man with a glance. The current patriarch of the Huangfu clan, Huangfu Zhangdong. Only then did everyone remember. Among Yiqing Luo's entourage, there was Huangfu family's young master who had just returned, Huangfu Sheng. The gazes everyone shot at Huangfu Zhangdong instantly became extremely complicated. Huangfu family's young master was in cahoots with Yiqing Luo's entourage. Didn't that mean that Huangfu family and Yiqing Luo's group were in cahoots? Perhaps, as long as they held the Huangfu family hostage, they could even threaten Huangfu Sheng and make him work for them. All of them had different thoughts in their minds, but they were all scheming for their own benefit. Huangfu Sheng, who had been stopped by this shout, slowly turned his head. His body was stiff. When he raised his eyes and looked at Huangfu Zhangdong, his expression was solemn and forbearing. Ah Sheng. Gu Zishi hugged his arm with heartache, giving him the warmth that belonged to her. Huangfu Sheng's thin lips pursed tightly as he took a deep breath, shaking his head at Gu Zishi. Don't worry. Those who don't care are of no importance. End of this chapter. Chapter 44-55. He didn't care. So no matter how the other party slandered him, it wouldn't affect him. But did he really not care? Gu Zishi wanted to ask this question. But when she saw the young man's solemn face and solemn expression, in the end, she swallowed her words. She knew Ah Sheng better than anyone else. The only thing she could do was to stay by his side. Huangfu Sheng met Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes indifferently. Looking at Huangfu Zhangdong's fierce expression, there was no emotion on his face. So, what do you want me to do? Huangfu Zhangdong actually felt a heavy pressure assaulting him with just a single glance from him. Huangfu Zhangdong's face darkened. He didn't want to admit that he was scared by a bastard. He snorted coldly. You are a member of my Huangfu clan. You should listen to the arrangements of the Huangfu clan. Hurry up and come back. Huangfu Sheng chuckled softly. Huangfu Zhangdong's face darkened. What are you laughing at? Before Huangfu Sheng could answer, a person walked out from the Huangfu clan's team. Father. That person was Huangfu Dongyu. He moved closer to Huangfu Zhangdong's ear and whispered a few words. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes lit up. He immediately looked at Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng, I heard that you have a close relationship with the first miss of the Gu residence. Since that's the case, you will represent the Huangfu clan and ask the first miss of the Gu residence to reveal the secret of the divine emperor's tomb to the public. He was also a smart person. He didn't ask Huangfu Sheng to quietly tell the Huangfu clan about the secret of the divine emperor's tomb, because he knew that he and Huangfu Sheng had always been at odds. Huangfu Sheng wouldn't listen to him. He said this now just to guide the firepower of those forces to Huangfu Sheng. It was also to announce his attitude to those forces. As expected, when Huangfu Zhangdong said this, the eyes of the people from the surrounding forces burned with a strong flame of greed. They all looked at Huangfu Sheng. Gu Zishi was so angry that her face turned red. She wanted to scold Huangfu Zhangdong for being despicable and shameless. Her small hand was held by Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng squeezed her palm. Gu Zishi bit her lips hard and declared her emotions with her eyes. Huangfu Sheng was much calmer. He indifferently looked at Huangfu Zhangdong, then at Huangfu Dongyu's complacent smile. It's not impossible to know the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. Huangfu Zhangdong's expression instantly froze. The smile on Huangfu Dongyu's face froze. Two pairs of eyes stared at him in disbelief. Huangfu Sheng was actually willing to help them find out the secret of the divine emperor's tomb? Then why did he just say, make it public? To hell with making it public, as long as he could obtain the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. Their Huangfu clan would definitely be able to suppress the Heaven Realm's 4 great clans. Why would they still need to be one of the 4 great clans? They were unique existences that everyone revered. When Huangfu Zhangdong recalled what he said earlier about making it public, he really wanted to give his eldest son a slap. Huangfu Dongyu naturally felt his father's anger. He had not expected that Huangfu Sheng would choose to betray Yi Qing Luo for the Huangfu family status. He put on a black face and pretended to appease his father. Father, he might have said this on purpose and then purposely raised some conditions which you are unable to fulfill so as to force you to back off. Huangfu Zhangdong's face sunk as he looked at Huangfu Dongyu. Then he looked at Huangfu Sheng and asked sternly, "What request do you have?" End of this chapter. Chapter 4456. Huangfu Sheng said word by word, "I want you to bring my mother's memorial tablet back to Huangfu Ancestral Hall." He only found out after he returned to Huangfu family. Because his mother left with his father, and after she died, even the memorial tablet wasn't allowed to enter Huangfu family. In addition to that, his father committed suicide by drowning himself in the river because of the treasure-gathering auction house. Not to mention protecting his mother's memorial tablet. For so many years, his mother's memorial tablet was secretly placed in his own courtyard by his grandfather, even if his mother had never thought of returning to Huangfu family. But now he was back. Here, there was a piece of place which belonged to his mother. Hearing Huangfu Sheng's request, Huangfu Zhangdong's expression congealed and turned extremely ugly. Huangfu Dongyu immediately sneered. "It's easy for you to think. It was your mother who left Huangfu family with a wild man. From the moment she left, she wasn't fit to be a member of Huangfu family. You're just a bastard and you want to bring your mother's memorial tablet back to Huangfu family? Next request. Is it the position of Huangfu family's patriarch?" Huangfu Dongyu understood his father's thinking very well, because he valued the position of patriarch too much. Huangfu Zhangdong couldn't even trust his own son wholeheartedly. He naturally understood how to provoke Huangfu Zhangdong's disgust towards Huangfu Sheng. As expected, when Huangfu Zhangdong heard his eldest son's words, his expression and gaze became extremely sharp. On the other side, after seeing the Huangfu family's people appear, someone's mood was obviously not right, especially after hearing Huangfu Zhangdong's words. That person's mood was even more intense. Yi Qing Luo glanced at the people in the crowd and raised her slender brows slightly, not intending to go over. In response to her, there was only silence. Yi Qing Luo retracted her gaze and didn't say another word. Even friends had no right to comment on this kind of matter. After all, she didn't know what had happened back then. "Qing Luo, aren't you worried that he will really ask you about the secret of the divine emperor's tomb?" Tong Ziqing wasn't too familiar with Huangfu Sheng. "He won't." Yi Qing Luo raised her brows. "Has really grown a lot. If it was the previous Pei Sheng, how could he possibly dare to face the might of Huangfu Zhangdong's family head?" Looking at the smile on Yi Qing Luo's lips, Tong Ziqing tactfully did not speak again. From Yi Qing Luo's eyes, she could tell. Huangfu Sheng was also a friend whom she, Yi Qing Luo, recognized. Since he was someone Qing Luo had set her eyes on, they would also believe him unconditionally. "If he doesn't tell me your secret, that person won't let him go." A cold, intense voice came from behind. Xiao Jin's face was ice cold, his expression tense, and somewhat strangely terrifying. Yin Xiao gently held his arm, her expression helpless, and could only comfort him silently. Since he dared to say that, he must have thought of a countermeasure. Yi Qing Luo wasn't worried at all. If Huangfu Zhangdong doesn't let Asheng off as his cousin, you will also step forward. Isn't that so? Perhaps it was the word cousin that caused Xiao Jin to be startled. He opened his mouth to retort, but his words were stuck in his throat. His expression became increasingly unsightly. Yi Qing Luo only curled her lips, and following that, her gaze fell back onto Huangfu Sheng. Huangfu Sheng still maintained a calm attitude, as towards Huang Fu Dongyu's slander, he couldn't be bothered to explain anything. He only waited quietly for Huang Fu Zhangdong's reply. Update complete, my babies. Happy New Year. This was the third new year that Master Mo and everyone had crossed. From 2016 to 2017. From 2017 to 2018. Now, from 2018, let's cross over to 2019. I hope that in 2020, we can continue to meet Master Mo's new book, Hedonist Profound Musician. Evil Lord, don't flirt, and continue to cross the new year together. To be able to gain your love is my lifetime's honor. Love you, my MO family heirlooms. End of this chapter. Chapter 4457. In such a silence. It made those who were still waiting for the answer. How would they have the mood to wait for both of them to remain silent? What happened to announcing it to the public? At once, they couldn't help but urged. Isn't it just a spirit tablet? Sending it to the ancestral hall in exchange for the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. Why not? Patriarch Huang Fu, surely you're not willing to let him tell us the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. So you're doing this on purpose? Patriarch Huang Fu, you're not being kind. It's you who asked him to reveal the secret of the divine emperor's tomb to the public, but now you're not willing? Are you making fun of us? Everyone addressed him as you, but from their attitude, there wasn't a single bit of respect towards him. Huang Fu Zhangdong's face flushed red from the crowd's words. He clenched his teeth as he snapped. All right, as long as you tell me the secret of the divine emperor's tomb, I can agree to your request. He intentionally paused for a moment when he interrupted his sentence. The glint in his eyes was obviously hinting to Huang Fu Sheng. He wanted Huang Fu Sheng to come up with an excuse to fool the other forces, and to quietly tell him the real answer. But apparently, Huang Fu Sheng didn't understand his intention. He curled his thin lips as he looked at the crowd. Everyone should have heard Patriarch Huang Fu's words clearly. As long as I tell you the secret of the divine emperor's tomb, Patriarch Huang Fu will take my mother's token and enter the Huang Fu ancestral hall. Right. We can all testify. Don't worry. Patriarch Huang Fu won't dare to lie to you. Hurry up and say it. Don't keep us guessing. The group of people urged him on. Huang Fu Zhangdong's eyes widened bit by bit. His fingers clenched into a fist shape nervously. Huang Fu Sheng looked back at Yiqing Luo, who was behind him, meeting the young lady's smiling, encouraging gaze. His flustered heart suddenly calmed down. He closed his eyes as his lips curled up tightly, his eyes looking at Huang Fu Zhangdong indifferently as he said word by word, the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. Didn't Luo say it very clearly earlier? It's her, Bai Mei from the Dark Shadow Palace, who took away the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. Huang Fu Sheng raised his hand and pointed at Bai Mei. I'm guessing that the Palace of Gloomy Darkness wants to use Luo to attract your attention, and then secretly study the secrets of the Emperor God's tomb. What Huang Fu Sheng said was true, but Huang Fu Zhangdong's face instantly darkened. What kind of answer was that? They all knew that Bai Mei had stolen the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. The same words Yiqing Luo had already said it once earlier. As if he had seen through Huang Fu Zhangdong's thoughts, Huang Fu Sheng said indifferently, Luo did say that, but you don't believe it. If you don't believe it, there's nothing I can do. If it was only Yiqing Luo who said that, they really didn't believe it. Moreover, when the group of people attacked Bai Mei and searched her body, they did not find anything related to the divine emperor's tomb. But now, Huang Fu Sheng was repeating the same thing in this situation. Everyone could not help but suspect Bai Mei. You're in cahoots with Yiqing Luo, that slut. You're talking rubbish. Bai Mei screamed hysterically. What she had experienced earlier had already made her suffer humiliation. Those people's hands kept wandering around her body, and some of them were not searching for the secret of the divine emperor's tomb at all. They were purely taking advantage of her. Chapter 4458. In front of DMO Xian. How could she endure this? Bai Mei didn't even think about it. No matter what happened to her, Xian's gaze was not on her at all, so how would he notice what she had experienced? Bai Mei was retreating as she frantically pointed at the surroundings, at the people who were eyeing them covetously. The secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb is on Yiqing Luo. Don't believe their nonsense. However, her words were not persuasive at all. As he retreated into the territory of a team. Ah, Bai Mei screamed. His body was lifted up by a person. Speak. Where did you put it? What is the purpose of the Dark Shadow Palace? Everything is said by the Dark Ghost Palace. Is this a conspiracy of the Dark Ghost Palace? Abysmal Palace still wants to use us? Who do you think you are? Hand over the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. Even though Bai Mei looked pitiful and begged for mercy, the people for the various factions did not have any protective feelings for the fairer sex. Once they obtained the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, they were above everyone else. What kind of woman couldn't he get? Why should he take pity on this broken shoe? The scene was chaotic. Huangfu Zhandong looked at the distance between him and Bai Mei and glared at Huangfu Sheng angrily. Immediately after, he summoned the forces of the Huangfu family and rushed towards Bai Mei's direction. That impatient movement. This made Huangfu Sheng twitch his lips in disdain. Sheng, Gu Zishi stretched out her hands and wrapped them around his waist. She raised her head and stared deeply into Huangfu Sheng's face. She smiled gently and warmly. I will always be here. The cold lines on Huangfu Sheng's face slowly softened. He gently stroked Gu Zishi's hair and looked into her eyes. The cold air that was being emitted from his body also gradually subsided. This scene fell into the eyes of the crowd, not far away. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she looked behind her with a smile that didn't look like a smile. Your little cousin is lucky to have met a good lady, so you don't have to worry. Who's worried about him? Xiao Jin coldly snorted. Yiqing Luo's gaze slid downwards as she looked at Yin Xiao Yi, who was standing beside Xiao Jin. His gaze fell on their intertwined fingers. The corners of her lips curled up into a gorgeous smile. You're lucky to have met a good girl. They were talking and laughing. Yiqing Luo suddenly felt that the man beside her had some changes in his emotions. She glanced sideways at Dmo Xian. What's wrong? The man's expression was cold, and there was a hint of anger in his eyes. The girl turned to look at him. The look in his eyes had become gentle and unique to her. What's the matter? Yiqing Luo raised her hand and touched his face as she repeated that sentence. Dmo Xian lifted his hand. His purple robe fluttered like flowing clouds, and a wisp of white shadow could be vaguely seen swaying. Before Yiqing Luo had the chance to ask, Dmo Xian's expression revealed some unkind intentions. Pursing his thin lips, he bent down slowly and kissed her lips. Then, he headed in the direction of the chaotic crowd. That was the direction of Bai Mei from the Palace of Darkness. There weren't many people from the Dark Nether Palace who came this time. The surrounding large powerhouses had long gone crazy over the so-called secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. How could the Dark Nether Palace's disciples stop them? It could be said that Bai Mei had been abused so badly that it was unbearable to watch. She was almost on her last breath, and on her body there was nothing related to the Divine Emperor's tomb. Chapter 4459. The people of the major forces were also anxious. The more anxious they were, the more irritable they became. His actions became more and more crude. You bitch, are you toying with us? Hurry up and hand it over. Your father has no interest in wasting time with you. Unable to bear it any longer, one of the faction leaders was so furious that his veins bulged. He had his doubts. Could it be that Huangfu family's young master had joined forces with Yiqing Luo to make fun of them? In the chaos, something creased Bai Mei's face. Then, a thin layer of human skin peeled off from Bai Mei's face. Bai Mei's face became extremely sinister and terrifying. F***CK. Ugly monster. Scare me to death. Someone was startled by Bai Mei's face. After cursing, she slapped Bai Mei's face with her palm. The people from the various forces who were too close to Bai Mei also felt a chill run down their spines when they saw her horrifying mangled face. Especially when he thought about how he had purposely taken advantage of that ugly monster just now. He suddenly felt a chill in his heart. He could not find the slightest clue regarding the Divine Sovereign's tomb on her. He was disgusted again. Killing intent immediately surged in the hearts of many profound practitioners. He just wanted to kill this disgusting and ugly monster. This thought came to mind. Several palm winds filled with murderous intent shot out. Bai Mei screamed in despair, just when she thought she was going to die. Suddenly, a profound wave attacked. She pushed away all the people from the major forces who had surrounded her. Bai Mei was still in a state of shock. She opened her eyes and looked over. She saw a shimmering purple figure standing in front of her. Bai Mei's eyes widened. Master Overlord. She was so happy that tears almost flowed out of her eyes. The Overlord had saved her. The Overlord had saved her. What did that mean? This meant that the Sovereign actually had feelings for her. Dizun did not want her to die. However, the next moment, a white shadow appeared in Bai Mei's eyes. The illusory figure pounced directly at her face. Bai Mei's expression suddenly turned to one of horror. You? The words were not spoken in time. His words stopped abruptly. His entire body stiffened and fell to the ground. After Bai Mei fell to the ground, DMO, Xin, merely flicked his sleeves and directly brought him to the side of Yiqing Luo and the others. Following that, he returned to Yiqing Luo's side. DMO, Xian's sudden action. The group of people looked at him in confusion. Why did Dizun save Bai Mei? Bai Mei was a clown who kept circling around Yiqing Luo's side. Yiqing Luo also had the same question. Of course, she would not say that she suspected that there was something between DMO, Xian, and Bai Mei. She was just curious as to why he would do that. Did it have anything to do with the sudden change in his mood? Facing Yiqing Luo's curious gaze, DMO Xian looked down at her. Want to know why I saved her? Yiqing Luo tilted her head and suddenly stretched out her hand, pressing on his arm. What do you have here? She was extremely fast. His 5 fingers accurately grasped a piece of white jade in his sleeve. It was extremely cold to the touch. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly, just as he was about to ask. That piece of white jade shook violently. Then, a white shadow floated out of the white jade. That figure seemed like it was going to dissipate with the wind. Yiqing Luo frowned, and after identifying for a long time, she spoke with uncertainty. Bai Su. Chapter 4460. Yes, Bai Su. That white jade pendant was Bai Su. Yiqing Luo seemed to have seen a white shadow in DMO Xian's sleeves. She didn't expect it to be Bai Su. Yiqing Luo expressed, how did it feel to know that her man was carrying another woman with him? Well, she really didn't know how to describe this feeling. After all, the other party was Bai Su. To DMO Xian, he was a senior that he respected. Bai Su would be here. It was not difficult for Yiqing Luo to understand the reason why DMO Xian took action. Presumably, Bai Su would place her soul on a piece of white jade for DMO Xian to bring to the heavenly realm. It was for Bai Mei. Bai Mei was her only sister. I'm sorry. Bai Su's illusory figure was a little gloomy, as if a gust of wind would blow it away. I didn't mean to make things difficult for you, but I can't watch her make mistakes again and again. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. She has made enough mistakes. I know, Bai Su hurriedly said. I don't expect you to forgive her, but she has already become like this. It is already the cruelest punishment. You should be very clear that everything she has done, even if she dies 100 times, she can't pay for it. Yiqing Luo's voice was a little cold. In order to maintain her beauty, how many young girls has she killed? How many girls' faces have she peeled off? Bai Su was speechless. Of course she knew. Bai Mei's sins could not be washed away. I have already given her a chance at the Balance Historian. Yiqing Luo opened her mouth again. And the price of this opportunity is that she repeatedly made use of the people around me to hurt me, colluding with the people from Gloomy Palace to deal with me, and countless young ladies' blood. Bai Su, you can't ask me to let Bai Mei off just because Xian respects you. This is unfair to me, unfair to the people around me, unfair to those who have died. Yiqing Luo was very clear how much DMO Xian was struggling in his heart. She deliberately pushed Bai Mei out. It was to use other people's hands to get rid of Bai Mei. She had also considered Bai Su's relationship, but she didn't expect that Bai Su would personally come to the heavenly realm. So she pushed Bai Mei out. DMO Xian understood what she was thinking. I don't want her to be disappointed. Under Bai Su's pleading, he had no choice but to help. Yiqing Luo was angry for DMO Xian. Bai Su's soul became fainter and fainter, as though he was unable to face Yiqing Luo's questions. Her figure had already dimmed and disappeared into thin air. Yiqing Luo took a look at Bai Mei, who had her eyes shut and retracted her vision. Angry? DMO Xian circled her waist and rested his chin on her shoulder. Yiqing Luo pursed her lips. If it were you, wouldn't you be angry? DMO Xian sighed. I know, so you can totally kill her. Bai Su will not blame you. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes at him. Bai Su has already done so much. If I really kill Bai Mei, wouldn't that be too heartless? She paused, and her voice suddenly became serious. However, it's up to her whether she wants to live or not. DMO Xian's thin lips brushed past her skin. All that was left was a ball of scorching heat. He chuckled softly, his eyes full of tenderness. He naturally knew the words that Yiqing Luo said earlier. All of them were standing on his side, speaking up for him. His little Luo was really very cute. Chapter 4461. It was a farce. The people from the surrounding forces were all stunned on the spot. Originally, they thought that Bai Mei was intentionally used by Yiqing Luo to tease them. But Di Zun had saved Bai Mei. At that moment, the crowd began to imagine endlessly. Could it be that the item was really with Bai Mei? Otherwise, why would Di Zun make a move? They actually didn't manage to find it. Damn slut. Damn Abyss Palace. On the other side, Huangfu Zhangdong's expression was practically dark to the extreme. A bastard was indeed a bastard. He would only side with outsiders. Such a person wasn't fit to be a member of the Huangfu clan. Father, that bastard doesn't know how to think for the Huangfu family. Huangfu Dongyu knew very well what his father was thinking. I wonder why grandfather wants to bring him back to the Huangfu family. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes were gloomy. Huangfu Dongyu persisted. Father, he has a close relationship with Yiqing Luo. That time in the Earth Realm, it was Yiqing Luo who added fuel to the fire. Hence grandfather valued Pei Sheng so much. I'm guessing, could all these be Yiqing Luo's conspiracy? She wants to make use of Pei Sheng to deal with our Huangfu family? After all, he had been a son for more than 20 years. As soon as these words came out, that was to directly stab Huangfu Zhangdong's heart. Huangfu Zhangdong looked at Huangfu Sheng with eyes full of resentment. Father, why don't we take this opportunity to expel Pei Sheng from the Huangfu family? He was the one who chose to leave with Yiqing Luo in front of everyone. Even if grandfather knew about it, he can't blame us. Huangfu Dongyu took the opportunity to come up with an idea. Initially, Huangfu Dongyu didn't care about Pei Sheng. Because of a bastard, a weak and cowardly man. Even with his grandfather's support, there was no need to take it to heart. However, after Pei Sheng arrived at the Huangfu clan, in just half a month, he had subdued the hearts of the entire Huangfu family. He had also stabilized his position in the Huangfu family. This made Huangfu Dongyu, the young master of the Huangfu clan and the future successor, feel uneasy. He had a feeling that Pei Sheng's appearance would change their Huangfu clan. This premonition, plus the relationship between Pei Sheng and Yiqing Luo. Huangfu Dongyu viewed Pei Sheng as a thorn in his side. Now he finally had a chance to get rid of Pei Sheng. Of course, he had to seize this opportunity in front of all the major forces. He had tricked the Huangfu clan and the public. Moreover, he took the initiative to follow Yiqing Luo. Even if Huangfu Jintian wanted to blame someone, it wouldn't be him. Huangfu Zhangdong also had the same thought. Bai Mei had already been brought to the other side by Dmo Xian. The crowd naturally did not dare to ask Dmo Xian for him. After Huangfu Zhangdong called his men back, Huang Xiaolong's expression changed. He displayed his patriarch's prestige as he looked at Huangfu Sheng with a solemn and cold expression. Pei Sheng, whatever divine emperor's tomb secret, you and Yiqing Luo colluded together, right? He sneered and glanced at Bai Mei, who was lying on the ground with her eyes closed. How could an abandoned pawn of the Palace of Gloomy Shadows get the secrets of the divine emperor's tomb? From what I see, the secret of the divine emperor's tomb, right from the start, is on Yiqing Luo, right? Huangfu Sheng's expression was calm, and he didn't feel the slightest bit of displeasure from Huangfu Zhangdong calling him Pei Sheng. What you want to know? I've already said it. Whether you believe it or not, it's your problem. It has nothing to do with me. But the thing that you promised me, please do it. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4462. Huangfu Sheng's words paused slightly. The corners of his lips curled into a faint arc. His gaze was like a torch as it met Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes. I think the dignified patriarch of the Huangfu family would not do that. Go back on his words, right? You. Before Huangfu Zhangdong could give Huangfu Sheng a rebuke, he was so infuriated by these words that he almost threw up blood. Pei Sheng, what contributions have you made for the Huangfu family? Even now, you obviously have a close relationship with Yiqing Luo, but you still didn't fight for the Huangfu family's benefits. Huangfu Dongyu comforted Huangfu Zhangdong as he spoke on behalf of him. What right do you have to move your mother's memorial tablet to the Huangfu ancestral hall? You don't have a right, and neither does your mother. Huangfu Dongyu. Huangfu Sheng's indifferent mood was suddenly broken at this moment. His eyes were filled with rage. Ah Sheng. Gu Zishi hurriedly hugged Huangfu Sheng's arm to prevent him from getting angry. What Huangfu Sheng couldn't tolerate was the Huangfu family's people commenting on his mother. This was his reverse scale, and Huangfu Dongyu obviously knew about this. He intentionally brought it up at this moment. He wanted to infuriate Huangfu Sheng. If Huangfu Sheng really flew into a rage and did something irreversible, this would only fall into Huangfu Dongyu's trap. What a joke. A desperate woman who wanted to marry an outsider, slept with a wild man, and while the family was busy with the war, she secretly left the family with a wild man. This kind of woman also wants to enter our Huangfu family's ancestral hall. The more Huangfu Dongyu spoke, the more outrageous his words were. You, this bastard, have no right to become a Huangfu family's member. Not to mention your shameless mother. Bam! A loud slap resounded through the entire Tianyar Ridge like a sudden clap of thunder. Huangfu Dongyu's body flew out directly, crashing heavily onto the ground. Dongyu. Huangfu Zhangdong looked at his eldest son, like a kite with a broken string, crashing heavily onto the ground. He cried out in shock and immediately called for someone to help him up. When Huangfu Dongyu was carried over, Huangfu Zhangdong saw the obvious palm print on his face. Pei Sheng. Huangfu Zhangdong was angered to the point his eyes turned scarlet red, and he glared fiercely at Huangfu Sheng. This bastard actually dared to touch his son in front of him. He really did not put him, the current patriarch, in his eyes. Now, he even dared to be so bold. Would it be in the future? They even wanted to usurp his position as the family head. Huangfu Sheng was also dumbfounded by this scene. He admitted, Huangfu Dongyu's words just now, it had already provoked him. He was indeed furious. He clearly knew that Huangfu Dongyu was deliberately provoking him, but he still couldn't help but want to attack Huangfu Dongyu. However, he was held tightly by Gu Zishi. There was no chance for him to make a move. If he forcefully made a move, he would definitely hurt Gu Zishi. There was no need for him to hurt the woman he loved just to beat up a scumbag. Therefore, who was the one who taught Huangfu Dongyu a lesson? Huangfu Sheng subconsciously looked towards Yi Qing Luo, but he saw Yi Qing Luo leaning in Mo Xian's arms, with a carefree look on her face. It wasn't Yi Qing Luo. Then who could it be? Huangfu Zhangdong, I didn't expect that after so many years, you still haven't changed at all. The cold and deep voice in this silence was extremely clear to the ears. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4463. That voice was as cold as ice, as though it was wrapped in ice-cold frost. Not a single trace of emotion could be heard from it. Immediately following that, a tall and straight figure walked out from behind Yi Qing Luo. That was an 18 to 19-year-old young man, dressed in black, and his imposing manner wasn't weak at all. But that young man's face was unprepossessing, especially that pair of eyes which resembled a wild beast. When it swept past Huangfu Zhangdong, it was like a prey which had been targeted by a wild beast. There was a kind of creepy feeling. That young man could be said, in Yi Qing Luo's group, each of them were as beautiful as flowers, outstanding and outstanding. He was a different kind of existence. Especially since right from the start till the end, there was an innocent and harmless, mischievous and beautiful lady who stuck beside him. The surrounding large forces had some impression of this young man. But even if the young man's looks were unprepossessing, but when he stood in that group, he didn't feel out of place. Previously, they hadn't noticed it. Now when they walked out alone, the imposing manner which the young man was emitting was comparable to many of the large forces present. What are you? How dare you call Patriarch Huangfu by his name? Huangfu family's guard berated him sternly. Huangfu Zhangdong's brows creased tightly as he stared deadly at the young man. That face was extremely unfamiliar. But that pair of eyes, he was very familiar. Earlier the voice and tone was so familiar that it made him. Huangfu Zhangdong's expression suddenly turned cold. Huangfu Jin. He was practically gritting his teeth as he spat out these three words. Huangfu Jin? Huangfu Dongyu, who was on the verge of fainting after hearing this name. His entire being awoke. He pressed the wrist of the person who was supporting him tightly as he endured the pain in his body and looked over there. His gaze fell upon that unprepossessing, ordinary-looking young man. His pupils abruptly widened. Fifth brother, the young man, who was Xiao Jin's attitude towards the both of them revealed a cold smile. Why? So shocked to see me? Did you think that in this lifetime I would never be able to return? His tone was filled with ridicule. No, how could you? Huangfu Dongyu opened his mouth and pulled the swollen muscles on his face, causing him to salivate from the pain. It's you who hit me. Xiao Jin cast a disdainful glance at him. Huangfu Zhangdong won't teach you how to behave, so I'll teach you what it means to respect your elders. He snorted coldly and continued. Huangfu Sheng is my cousin, and his mother is Huangfu Zhangdong's younger sister, which is also your aunt. Who taught you, as a junior, to insult your elders like this? Then who taught you, as a son? How dare you call your father by his name? Huangfu Zhangdong's furious voice interrupted him. Son? Xiao Jin's eyes were filled with ridicule. 10 years ago, didn't you expel me from the Huangfu clan and remove my name from the clan records? Huangfu Zhangdong was both furious and shocked. His face flushed red while his chest rose and fell violently. Xiao Jin didn't care about his thoughts at all. He calmly and indifferently emphasized, Now, my name is Xiao Jin. Huangfu Jin died 10 years ago. This series of episodes, it caused the people from the surrounding forces to be a little dumbfounded. What kind of situation was this now? Weren't they here to snatch the Divine Phoenix profound heart jade and find out the secrets of the Divine Emperor's tomb? Why did it become a drama now, a family scandal? Hurry up and read the latest update. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4464. They weren't interested. They only wanted the divine phoenix profound heart jade and the secrets of the divine emperor's tomb. Wasn't the style changing a little too fast? However, this Huangfu clan was truly strange. One was young Master Huangfu, who had just been brought back by the old patriarch. The other was the son that the current patriarch Huangfu had personally acknowledged. Both of them actually had a close relationship with Yi Qing Luo. This level of secrecy had almost reached the level of the degree of intimate friendship. He didn't even know how to make good use of such a relationship. Was the Huangfu family stupid? On the contrary, he even spoke ill of those two. Could it be? This must be a conspiracy. He was deliberately putting on a show in front of them. Following that, he quietly helped the Huangfu family to find out news regarding the God Emperor's tomb from Yi Qing Luo or the Overlord. In the minds of the crowd, a large number of conspiracy theories immediately popped up. All of them were guessing after leaving the Tianyao Ridge. He sent his men to surround the Huangfu family. Who cares if it's one of the 4 great clans? Nothing was more important than the secret of the divine emperor's tomb. As for the divine phoenix profound heart jade, could the Overlord protect Yi Qing Luo all day long? As long as they caught the chance of Yi Qing Luo being alone. Why would he be afraid of not being able to handle a little girl? In any case, when the time came, it would all depend on their own abilities. And even if His Majesty pursued the matter, so many people wanted to obtain the divine phoenix profound heart jade. How would the Overlord know who was the one who made a move against Yi Qing Luo? Thinking like this, the people of the major forces decided to retreat now. Dizun was here to hold the fort. It would be a waste of time for them to stay here. Look at Dizun's attitude of exterminating an entire clan at the slightest disagreement. They must be stupid to think of using their numbers to fight against the Dizun. As a result, when Huangfu Zhangdong and Xiao Jin were confronting each other, the people of the major forces dispersed in an uproar. Yi Qing Luo, the emotion, the group, didn't they want to snatch the divine phoenix profound heart jade? Didn't they want to gang up on her and snatch the secrets of the divine emperor's tomb? Why did he give up so quickly? They had sacrificed so many elites to climb to the inner region of the Tianyao Ridge. Was he willing to give up so easily? She had painstakingly recovered her strength, but she hadn't had the time to do anything yet. Couldn't they fight and then retreat? All she wanted was a fight. I just want to be defeated. No matter how Yi Qing Luo howled in her heart. The originally crowded Tianyao Ridge was filled with people as far as the eye could see. In just a moment, it became empty again. More and more people were leaving. On Huangfu Zhangdong's side, his heart was beating faster and faster. When they were the only ones left in the Tianyao Ridge, they were the only ones left. Huangfu Zhangdong felt a chill run down his spine. Could it be that unfilial son, Huangfu Jin, was planning to take this opportunity to get the Overlord to get rid of the Huangfu family? Huangfu Zhangdong wanted to lead his men away. However, when he met Xiao Jin's mocking gaze, Huangfu Sheng was calm and indifferent, as though he was looking down at him from above. Huangfu Dongyu's low groans of pain could also be heard. He simply couldn't lift his feet to leave. If he left with the crowd, if word this got out, their Huangfu clan would lose all face. Furthermore, letting Huangfu Jin and Pei Sheng off so easily, it would only make the both of them join forces and become even more arrogant. Huangfu Jin was back. Huangfu family was going to be in turmoil. He absolutely would not allow the position which belonged to him to be snatched away by others. Even if that person was his son, it was still the same. The fastest update speed, hurry up and read it. Download address, cell phone reading. Chapter 4465. In particular, what happened back then must not be discovered. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes shot out a treacherous cold light, but Xiao Jin completely ignored his thoughts. He grabbed Huangfu Sheng's arm and said, "Let's go." Huangfu Sheng was confused. He looked at Xiao Jin in astonishment. He hadn't had the time to digest the conversation between him and Huangfu Zhangdong. Xiao Jin was Huangfu Zhangdong's son? Xiao Jin was Huangfu Jin? The two of them are cousins? What kind of godly development was this? Huangfu Sheng was still in a dazed state as he obediently allowed Xiao Jin to pull him back to where Yiqing Luo and the others were. Yiqing Luo looked at his dazed look in ridicule as she couldn't help but laughed. Haven't regained your senses yet. You knew about it long ago? Huangfu Sheng looked at Yiqing Luo in a daze. Yiqing Luo shot a glance at Xiao Jin. I indeed knew his identity very early on. Yiqing Luo's words had just landed. Long Yunzhan's indifferent voice rang out. I didn't expect that. Jin Zi was actually someone from the Heaven Realm. After such a long time, he actually didn't tell us. They had been together for so many years. They had experienced so many life and death situations together. Only today did he know Xiao Jin's true identity. Xiao Jin raised his eyebrows and replied calmly. You didn't tell anyone that you're a dragon, did you? Same here. Long Yunzhan, in their devil class in the World Mercenary Group, just how many people were there, and how many secrets were they hiding? All right, let's talk about acknowledging relatives after we leave Tianya Ridge. Yiqing Luo lazily leaned into Di and Mo Xian's arms. Let's go. No one had any objections. During the few days in the Tianya Ridge, they couldn't wait to leave this place. In such a place, they couldn't sleep or eat. They were always on tenterhooks and worried. He could finally heave a sigh of relief. Although those large powerhouses in the outside world were still eyeing Yiqing Luo covetously. However, Dizun was still here. It was more or less able to suppress some ambitious but cowardly people. As for those with ambition and courage, they came forward to serve as cannon fodder to warn the others. The group of people were having fun. He walked toward the exit of the Tianya Ridge. He had completely disregarded the Huangfu clan. It was an extremely relaxed conversation. This caused Huangfu Zhangdong's expression to become even darker and more terrifying. This group of brats didn't even put him or the entire Huangfu clan in their eyes, allowing the two bastards of the Huangfu family to strut around in front of him and then leave so easily. Huangfu Jin, Pei Sheng, stop right there. Huangfu Changdong shouted with a grim voice that was filled with rage. The two of them, who were walking side by side, stopped at the same time. They looked at each other. After that, they simultaneously looked at Huangfu Zhangdong. I solemnly warn you on behalf of the Huangfu family. If you leave with her today, the two of you will be completely erased from the Huangfu family. Neither of you are from the Huangfu clan. Huangfu Zhangdong gnashed his teeth and shouted word by word. There wasn't much emotion on Xiao Jin's ordinary face. His lips curled into a sneer. I'm not a member of the Huangfu clan to begin with. If Patriarch Huangfu is old, then you should abdicate your position as soon as possible. Don't monopolize this position. You bastard. Huangfu Zhangdong pointed at Xiao Jin as he berated. Good. Very good. Since you don't treat yourself as a member of the Huangfu clan, then, even if you're in the Heaven Realm, don't appear in front of Old Master. Asterisk 5. Update. End of this chapter. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. TXT download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4466. Hearing this, Xiao Jin couldn't help but laugh. This is your goal. To Huangfu Zhangdong, Xiao Jin was the biggest stumbling block. If he appeared in the Huangfu family, the old man and the older generation of the Huangfu family, they would definitely let him return to the Huangfu family as the heir, the young master of the Huangfu family, because Xiao Jin was recognized by the ancestors as the heir of the Huangfu family, because he had a pair of pure golden pupils. So what? As long as he didn't want to give up power, as long as Xiao Jin still hated the Huangfu family, Xiao Jin would never inherit the Huangfu family. Even if he, Huangfu Zhangdong, abdicated in the future, It was absolutely impossible to let Xiao Jin inherit the position of the Huangfu family head. Huangfu Zhangdong's face was cold. If you still want to see the old man, go back with me now. Go back. Xiao Jin's lips curled up in ridicule. You guys want to pick me up several times, saying that you want me to return to the Huangfu family. But when did you really let me go back? His eyes suddenly narrowed. The cold light reflected was like that of a ferocious beast, shocking people. Are you sure you want me to go back? You. Huangfu Zhangdong's body stiffened. He said this because he knew that Xiao Jin's hatred for him, for the Huangfu family, and knew that he wouldn't come back. He would say this. It was just because he was in the right. But Xiao Jin's reply caused him to be unable to continue the conversation for a moment. On the other side, Huangfu Sheng's voice sounded. Patriarch Huangfu is indeed old. He has even forgotten that I have changed my name to Huangfu Sheng and entered the Huangfu family's genealogy book. Huangfu Zhangdong's expression suddenly froze. Both of them were stubbornly insisting that he was old. Could it really be like what Danyu said? They actually want to take over the entire Huangfu family. This thought made Huangfu Zhangdong look at the two with more suspicion. Huangfu Sheng continued to say, however, based on how clan leader Huangfu addressed me as Pei Sheng, I'm sure you've never regarded me as a member of the Huangfu clan. Therefore, it's reasonable that I'm unwilling to follow you back to the Huangfu clan. Since Patriarch Huangfu isn't sincere and wants to invite us back, why are you putting on an act? Huangfu Sheng's words were extremely sharp. Huangfu Zhangdong's face was almost covered by dark clouds. Pei Sheng. He gritted his teeth and shouted the name. Good. Good. Do the both of you really think that by doing this, you're showing your loyalty to Yiqing Luo and the Overlord? As the current patriarch of the Huangfu family, I'm telling you, if you don't return to the Huangfu family today, don't even think about taking another step into the Huangfu family. A clear chuckle suddenly rang out after these stern and dignified words were spoken. That laughter was filled with mockery and ridicule. Shortly after, the young lady who had been watching the show lazily walked out. Her steps were even. Her footwork was graceful. Every single one of her movements revealed her noble and indolence. Patriarch Huangfu. The young lady's clear voice was very pleasant to the ears. Especially in this quiet, dense forest, it seemed as though there was a faint echo. As for Jin Zi and Ah Sheng, they have never expressed their loyalty to me. To me, they are my comrades who fight side by side. Her smile became even more devilish and devilish. 6. Update. End of this chapter, the fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Phone reading. Chapter 4467. As for whether to return to the Huangfu family, it's not up to you to decide. Yiqing Luo's voice paused slightly as her smile became even more alluring. Her long and narrow eyes lifted upwards like a blooming dachira flower. She said it word by word confidently. If they want to go to the Huangfu family, I will bring them there. If they want to meet Old Master Huangfu, I will bring them there. Her words paused slightly again. Immediately after, her eyes congealed. His smile also became more and more intense, and there was a bit of an oppressive aura. Even if they want Huangfu family, must also give up. With the last 4 words, Yiqing Luo spat it out one word at a time. Arrogant and confident to the extreme. Her words were arrogant, as though she just wanted to get something unimportant. Huangfu Zhangdong's face was as black as charcoal. His eyes were filled with treacherous coldness. What a big tone. His gaze was sharp. Yiqing Luo, do you really think that you can rely on the protection of the Overlord to be so arrogant? Do you think Huangfu family's foundation is something that you can destroy? Huangfu family was, after all, one of the 4 great families. Wasn't Yiqing Luo thinking of things too simply? Heh, in the end, she's just a child. Huangfu Zhangdong's eyes were cold as his gaze swept past the emotion. Following that, he suppressed the surging hatred in his chest. Yiqing Luo, you won't be complacent for long. You'd better follow the Overlord closely, otherwise. He gave a cold laugh, as he didn't need to say anything. Let's go. Huang Fu Zhangdong flicked his sleeves as he headed in the opposite direction of Yi Qing Luo and the rest. Behind him, a young lady's cold laughter was heard. That laughter was like the ringing of a bell, extremely melodious. But when it fell into Huang Fu Zhangdong's ears, it was like a fiery slap on his face, because Yi Qing Luo's laughter was obviously ridiculing them for escaping. Patriarch Huang Fu, I'll quietly wait for your good news in the Gu residence. If Patriarch Huang Fu is unable to suppress my complacency even after a long time, it's very possible that I'll become complacent and personally bring Jin Zi and Sheng to the Huangfu clan to cause trouble. The young girl's laughing voice entered Huangfu Zhangdong's ears along with the breeze. Huangfu Zhangdong's footsteps came to a halt. He tightly clenched his fists and angrily strode forward. TCH who relied on his majesty to be arrogant and despotic. One day, he would crush her like an ant, ruthlessly crushing her to death. Yi Qing Luo's group walked out of Heaven Cliff Ridge smoothly. Outside the Tianyao Ridge stood a large number of people from various forces. However, the people from these forces were clearly much weaker than the group of people he had met in the Horizon Ridge. When he saw the group of people coming out, all of them retreated nervously. It was as if he had seen some dreadful beast. It was likely that the people who had left the Tianyao Ridge had told everyone about what had happened inside. Because of that, when the crowd saw Yi Qing Luo and Bai Mei who was being carried out, their eyes were filled with unconcealable greed and also filled with cautious fear. Yi Qing Luo and the rest couldn't be bothered to waste time with these people. Under the various gazes from the crowd, they left the Horizon Ridge and headed straight towards the Gu residence. Eldest young miss. The minute Gu Yun saw Yi Qing Luo's figure, she welcomed her with joy. When she dashed in front of Yi Qing Luo, her gaze fell onto Yi Qing Luo's side, as well as the group of people behind. Chapter 4468. She was shocked and immediately bowed respectfully. Lord Dizun. Yi Qing Luo looked around the Gu residence. The Gu residence had not changed much from when she had left. Gu Yun knew that the person beside her was the Overlord. This meant that Gu Yun had long heard about the rumors regarding her, as well as what happened at Tianyao Ridge. She pulled Gu Yun over and asked directly, "Where's the barbaric Blood King?" When these 4 words came out of her mouth, Gu Yun's expression changed as she shook her head at her. After that, she whispered, "Bone Lord is not in the residence now." "Not in?" Yi Qing Luo narrowed her eyes. "Really?" "Absolutely." Gu Yun nodded with certainty. Bone Lord has indeed been in the Gu residence for the past few days. However, he seemed to have received some news this morning and left the Gu residence early in the morning. He only told me to bring a message to you. First Miss. Yi Qing Luo frowned slightly. She came back from Tianyao Ridge. It was to see the barbaric Blood King. It was the barbaric Blood King who brought her to the Heaven Realm. And it was the barbaric Blood King who told the world the secret that she had the divine phoenix, profound heart jade. Even the divine emperor's tomb was told to the world. There were some things that she had to ask clearly, and only the barbaric Blood King could give her an answer. She thought that such a thing had happened. Bai Mei also said that the barbaric Blood King had completely severed ties with the people behind the secluded palace because of the divine phoenix, profound heart jade, and the divine emperor's tomb being exposed. By right, the barbaric Blood King should have returned to the Gu residence. But he left the Gu residence early in the morning? Was it because he felt guilty to her, so he didn't dare to see her? But how could he be so sure that she could come out of Tianyao Ridge today? And how could he be so sure that she could return safely in the midst of so many people? The divine phoenix, profound heart jade, and the divine emperor's tomb? Yi Qing Luo pursed her pink lips slightly and asked, "What did he say?" Bone Lord said that he knew First Miss wouldn't forgive his mistake. The consequences of this matter were too complicated and serious. He hoped that First Miss could stay by His Majesty's side at all times. Even if she went to the toilet or took a bath, try not to be alone. Bone Monarch also said that this matter was caused by him, and that he would take responsibility until the end. He did not ask for Eldest Miss's forgiveness, and only hoped that Eldest Miss would not resent him because of this. At this point, Guyan paused again. She carefully sized up Yi Qing Luo's expression, trying to guess her current thoughts. Actually, Bone Lord never had any ill intentions towards Eldest Mississippi, recalling when Bone Lord mentioned Yi Qing Luo, that nostalgic and desolate expression. Guyan could not help but want to speak up for her master. This servant has never seen such a self-blaming and dejected Bone Lord. After the incident, his heart is actually more tormented than anyone else. Seeing that Yi Qing Luo didn't reply for a long time, Guyan couldn't help but continued. During this period of time, various powerhouses were discussing on how to find you and get what they wanted from you. After Bone Lord heard about it, he even killed several powerhouses' people in public. But no matter how much Guyan said, Yi Qing Luo's expression didn't have much change. Guyan was a little frustrated as she helplessly sighed. This servant knows that I shouldn't say these words, but I just don't wish for there to be a huge misunderstanding between Eldest Miss and Bone Lord. I know. Yi Qing Luo raised her hand and patted her shoulder. Whether to forgive him or not, we can only talk after we settle the matter face to face. Chapter 4469. Guyan lowered her head. Bone Monarch had one last thing to say. He said that the questions you want to ask him can be found in the token he gave you. Token? Yi Qing Luo reached into her sleeves. She took out the token that the Bloodbone Barbarian King had given her to summon the Bone Mansion. Was there the answer she wanted on it? Did the barbaric Bloodbone King know what she wanted to ask? He was staring at the token. Suddenly, a large palm reached out from behind her and grabbed her little hand that was holding the token. All right, I've just returned. Have a good rest. The man's broad chest covered her delicate body. The elegant sandalwood fragrance and warmth enveloped her. He kept that token back into Yi Qing Luo's sleeve. Even if you're not tired, your bunch of brothers should be tired. Yes. Eldest Miss must be tired. This servant will get someone to prepare now. After Guyan finished speaking, she counted the number of people and quickly retreated. Yi Qing Luo was in Dmo Xian's embrace as she turned around to face him. She stretched out her hands and hooked them around the man's neck. The man exerted a little strength in his arms and held the girl in his arms. He hurriedly walked to the hall not far ahead. When Yi Qing Luo's gaze swept past the wide, open Gu residence's main door, her eyes flashed past a sharp glint. Outside the door, on a seemingly normal street. But every corner are passers-by. Well, he looked at the Bone Mansion. Their eyes were filled with greed and vigilance. Clearly, the entire Gu Mansion had already been targeted by the various large factions. No wonder Dmo Xin stopped her from continuing the discussion with Guyan earlier. Soon, Guyan made the arrangements. A servant led Yin Xiao, Yi, and the rest to the guest room. Dmo Xin carried Yi Qing Luo as they returned to Yi Qing Luo's room in the Gu residence. There was no one to lead the way. Yi Qing Luo didn't lead the way, but Dmo Xian had accurately located her room. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but curled her lips as she gave a teasing smile. How did Ah Xian know? This is my room. Could it be that before Ah Xian came to the Heaven Realm to look for me, he specially came in my room? Dmo Xian lowered his head. His obsidian eyes reflected the girl's picturesque face. He slowly bent down. Just a finger's distance away from Yi Qing Luo's lips, he stopped. His black hair sprinkled on her face. Like a feather, it gently tugged at her heartstrings. Hot breaths intertwined with each other. It was an ambiguous distance, but the man did not continue to be ambiguous. His nose sniffed her body. His low and hoarse voice had a hint of palpitation that tugged at her heartstrings. There's your scent here. It's very fragrant. Yi Qing Luo. He started flirting again without saying a word. This baby can't take this kind of teasing. Hey, if he couldn't take it anymore, he wouldn't be able to take it anymore. Yi Qing Luo's hands around the man's neck suddenly increased in strength. Their lips touched. Dmo Xian's long eyelashes fluttered. In his eyes, there was a playful smile on the girl's face. The expression on his face became gentle. His eyes were filled with love and tenderness. He exerted a little force with his hands. He held the girl's delicate body and deepened the kiss. The fierce and lingering kiss made the temperature of the two rise. The two figures slowly disappeared into the room. When both of them fell onto the soft big bed, the man's hand was propped up on the side of the bed. From Yi Qing Luo's angle, she looked at the man's handsome and elegant face. She only felt that this man was enough to make the sun, moon, and stars lose their splendor. Her eyes were filled with a smile, welcoming the man's even more aggressive kiss. 9. Into this chapter, the fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Chapter 4470. But, just as the two of them were about to continue, Yi Qing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Dmo Xian's chest. Xian, wait. The young lady's voice was very soft, and between her long and narrow eyes, there was a gorgeous color. Dmo Xian's eyes congealed slightly, suppressing the heat surging in his lower abdomen. It seems something is a bit strange, Yi Qing Luo said lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time, that eye in a swoosh hid in the quilt. Yi Qing Luo. The man turned over and got up. She sat up and directly lifted the quilt. A fluffy red bird curled up at the foot of the bed. After the quilt was lifted, the bird spread its wings, intending to fly away. Yi Qing Luo stretched out and grabbed its wings. Qian, where was the tone of the previous gentle and lovely tone? That gloomy tone was obviously angry after a good thing was disturbed. Qian fluttered its little claws which had been cured, howling incessantly. Why are you angry at this sacred beast? This sacred beast did not stay here on purpose. It's you who barged in without any explanation. This sacred beast had not had time to speak. And you. Qian felt extremely aggrieved. Repeat 500 words, change in 10 minutes moi. But just as the two of them were about to continue, Yi Qing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Dmo Xian's chest. Xian, wait. The young lady's voice was very soft, and between her long and narrow eyes, there was a gorgeous color. Dmo Xian's eyes slightly congealed, suppressing the surging heat in his lower abdomen. It seems there's something a bit strange, Yi Qing Luo said lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time, that eye in a swoosh hid in the quilt. Yi Qing Luo. The man turned over and got up. She sat up and lifted the quilt. A fluffy red bird curled up at the foot of the bed. After the bedding was lifted, the bird flapped its wings, intending to fly away. Yi Qing Luo stretched out her hand and grabbed its wings. Qian. Her tone was no longer as gentle and charming as before. That gloomy expression was obviously the result of anger from embarrassment after his good deed was interrupted. Qian fluttered its little claws that had been healed and cried out, "Why are you being so fierce to this holy beast? I didn't stay here on purpose. You were the ones who barged in without any explanation. Before the sacred beast could say anything, Qian felt extremely wronged. However, just as the two of them were about to continue, Yi Qing Luo's hand suddenly pressed against Dmo Xian's chest. Xian, wait. The young girl's voice was very gentle, and her long and narrow eyes were filled with a gorgeous color. Dmo Xian's pupils congealed as he suppressed the surging heat in his lower abdomen. There seems to be something strange. Yi Qing Luo gasped lightly. The two of them stopped moving. Coincidentally, they turned their heads and looked to the side, only to see the quilt at the foot of the bed, slightly protruding, revealing a pair of red eyes. Seeing the two of them looking over at the same time. The fastest update speed. Hurry up and read it. Download address. Mobile phone reading. Chapter 4471. Yiqing Luo got up from the bed. He pulled the neatly folded new clothes to the side and put them on. He tidied up the place. She walked out of the room. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning, so it was about 10 o'clock. DMO Xian, that pig trotter. Why was he always torturing her until she fell asleep? The next morning, he was nowhere to be seen. What a scumbag setting. Yiqing Luo ridiculed in her heart. But she was also clear that DMO Xian was definitely rushing about because of her matters. The Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade, the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb. No matter which point it was, they were all things that could drive people crazy and greedy. DMO Xian couldn't possibly stay by her side all the time. However, right now, she was in the Bone Residence. Even if DMO Xian wasn't always around, those people wouldn't dare to do anything to her. For now, it was still safe. After Yiqing Luo came out, Guiyun quickly walked over. "Eldest young miss, you're awake." Yiqing Luo asked, "Are they all awake?" The guests in the first and second rooms in the East Wing have already woken up. Aside from the second room, the other guests in the West Wing are still resting because they chatted until midnight last night, Guiyun replied. The first and second rooms of the East Wing were occupied by Zhou Mo, Gui Wu, and Gui Bao. In the West Wing, Long Yunzhan and Tong Ziqing were in the second wing. The other guests were referring to Qiao Jin and Huang Fusheng. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to head to the East Wing, Guiyun suddenly thought of something. "Oh yes, eldest miss, second young master Ren heard that you're back and has been wanting to meet you." Ren Jiaming? Oh right. Ren Jiaming was still living in the Gu residence. After she was taken away by Zhu Wuxin, a series of events had happened. She had forgotten about Ren Jiaming. When she followed Guiyun to look for Ren Jiaming, Yiqing Luo inquired about everything that had happened in the old city during the period when she wasn't around. After she was taken away by Zhu Wuxin, Ren Jiaming's profound grade was crippled, so it was naturally impossible for them to bring him along to search for Yiqing Luo's whereabouts. Therefore, Ren Jiaming had been locked up in the Gu residence. Ren Jiaming should be in the Gu residence. At first, it didn't cooperate. He was worried about Yiqing Luo and wanted to escape to find out news about her. However, he was caught by Gong Xiazhu this time, and she almost pressed him down in an alley and raped him. Fortunately, Gu Yun discovered it in time and rushed over with the Gu residence's secret guards, saving Ren Jiaming's innocence. After this incident, Ren Jiaming was quiet for a while. But after the news of Yiqing Luo's Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade and the Divine Emperor's tomb spread, all the major forces that had come to participate in the excellence list were in a frenzy. All of them were eyeing Yiqing Luo covetously. The entire city was in an uproar, researching on how to capture Yiqing Luo, how to dig out her profound heart jade, how to obtain the secret of the Divine Emperor's tomb, etc. Ren Jiaming panicked again. Once again, he quietly left the Gu residence. This time, he did not meet Gong Xiazhu. However, he bumped into Ren Jiaming. If not for the fact that Bone Lord had returned early because of the Palace of Gloomy Shadows plotting against him, and because Ren Jiaming was someone whom Yiqing Luo wanted to keep, Bone Lord saved him in passing. Ren Jiaming reckoned that he wouldn't be able to live until now. He listened to Guiyun talk about Ren Jiaming's recent matters. Yiqing Luo couldn't help but sigh. This Ren Jiaming is really plagued with disasters. No matter what he did, he would always get into trouble. Today, the Ren family is completely controlled by the eldest miss of the Ren family, and she has also announced the collaboration with the royal family. Guiyun continued. According to the informant, the eldest miss of the Ren family might marry into the royal family. Chapter 4472. Marriage? Ren Jianying intended to marry the crown prince? That woman, her ambition was so big. Would she be willing to marry a man? One must know that once she chose the royal family to marry, no matter how powerful she was, the Ren family would become the royal family's accessory. Based on Ren Jianying's character, how could she accept such a thing? Could it be Ren Jianying still had the intention to let Ren Jiaming and Gong Xiaozhu get married? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Does Ren Jiaming know about this? Yes. Gu Yin nodded, because he knows he has been staying in the Gu residence and didn't go anywhere else. Yiqing Luo smiled. Looks like he understands his current predicament. As they were talking, they arrived at Ren Jiaming's courtyard. Yiqing Luo just walked in. She saw a figure pouncing over. Eldest Miss. Eldest Miss. That person had not reached Yiqing Luo, but he was sent flying by Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Ren Jiaming touched his painful butt and climbed up from the ground with an exaggerated expression. Eldest Miss, we haven't met for such a long time. Can't you be gentler to me? He sucked in a breath of cold air in pain. As he walked towards Yiqing Luo, his mouth kept nagging. Just when he was halfway there, his eyes suddenly lit up. Eldest Miss, your profound grade has recovered. Earlier, Yiqing Luo's sleeve was swung over. The air was filled with layers of ripples. Yiqing Luo walked straight into the courtyard. Didn't you want to see me? Say it quickly. Ren Jiaming followed behind. Eldest Miss, how did you recover your profound grade? Can you tell me? I also want to recover my profound grade. Yiqing Luo sat on the stone bench. Go to Tianyar Ridge, and you will naturally recover. But, from what I see, if you go there, you might die. Ren Jiaming, not might, it's definitely. Stop the nonsense. Tell me what's the matter. Yiqing Luo didn't give him a chance to show off. Ren Jiaming looked at Yiqing Luo with a resentful look and sat on the stone bench opposite her. As a friend, I'm worried about you, all right? Yiqing Luo shot a glance at him. These words, even if you use it to deceive others, probably no one would believe you. Ren Jiaming immediately howled. Woman, why are you so cold-blooded? I was worried for you for so long. Yiqing Luo, forget it. She should just leave. Even though a series of events had happened, and he had experienced several life and death situations, he was still calm. He could still be so optimistic. He didn't feel any shadow in his heart at all. He must be a weirdo. Eldest young miss. All right. I'll speak properly. Ren Jiaming immediately stood up and chased after Yiqing Luo, blocking her path. Yiqing Luo took a look at him and sat down once again. Ren Jiaming moved to her side and sat down. As he carefully observed her expression, he said, I just want to ask, when do you plan to help me save that person? Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Are you sure that person can help you? I'm sure. Ren Jiaming adjusted his sitting posture, and his expression became stern. The reason why elder sister wanted to take me away from the Gu residence several times was because she wanted to find out the whereabouts of that person for me. This is enough to show that elder sister is afraid of that person. Ren Jianying is nothing much to make her afraid. Is very normal. Yiqing Luo touched her chin. Ren Jiaming pursed his lips and suddenly placed both his hands on the stone table as he raised his head solemnly. End of this chapter. Chapter 4473. What if I say that, when I left the Gu residence 2 days ago and was captured by Big Sister, I saw people from the Palace of Darkness beside Big Sister. Gloomy palace. Yiqing Luo's eyelids twitched. Are you sure? I'm sure. Ren Jiaming nodded with certainty. Moreover, as I said before, the person who is related to Big Sister is from the Palace of Darkness. Yiqing Luo had guessed right from the start. Ren Jianying should be working with the Palace of Darkness. She raised her eyebrows. How did you know about my relationship with the Palace of Darkness? I don't know about the grudges between you and the Palace of Darkness, but I know that your purpose in coming to the Heaven Realm is related to the Palace of Darkness. Runjamming explained. Ever since the Palace of Tenebrous Shadows spread the news that you have the Divine Phoenix Profound Heart Jade in your body and the Divine Emperor's tomb, I roughly knew that there was a story between you and the Palace of Tenebrous Shadows. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes thoughtfully. Runjamming continued. Big Sis is very anxious to find the person I want you to save. It seems that it is also the intention of the Dark Palace. If you save that person, not only will you help me, but you will also deal with the Dark Palace. This reason can convince me. Yiqing Luo's lips curled upwards. I can promise you that as long as you save that person, he will definitely help you deal with the Palace of Darkness. I don't want the Ren family to be destroyed by Big Sis. Runjamming was still trying to persuade him. However, at this point, he was first stunned as he stared blankly at Yiqing Luo. After some time, he finally reacted to the meaning of those 8 words which Yiqing Luo said earlier. He jumped up excitedly. You agree? Yes. Yiqing Luo replied. Runjamming's excitement was evident in his words. You, eldest miss, I'm really grateful to you. You're the savior of the Run family. Don't thank me so early. I might not be able to save him. Yiqing Luo looked at Runjamming carefully. It was certain that Runjamming's words were from the bottom of his heart. In the end, both of them discussed that after Dmo Xian returned, they would follow Runjamming to save the person he mentioned. Dmo Xian was mentioned. Runjamming looked a little down. After hesitating for a long time, he finally asked, You and the Overlord. Really? Yiqing Luo smiled lightly as her brows rose. Feel that I'm not worthy of him? No. Runjamming hurriedly shook his head and immediately looked down. I'm just a little surprised. I've been wondering what kind of man would be able to take in a woman like you. I didn't expect it would be the Overlord. Perhaps it's because he's Dmo Xian. Yiqing Luo seemed to have thought of Dmo Xian as her eyes were filled with smiles. Runjamming was stunned for a moment before he chuckled. That was right, because it was D Zun. He didn't even dare to start this emotional battle, and it was already over. He could not help but laugh. Fortunately, he had concealed his true feelings very well. Otherwise, he didn't even have the chance to make Yiqing Luo help him anymore. Wait here for the news. I'll make a move first. Yiqing Luo waved her hand and stood up. He had only taken a few steps. Runjamming suddenly called out to her, Eldest Mississippi. Yiqing Luo halted her footsteps. The rumors about the Palace of Seclusion. Is it true? Runjamming's question was filled with hesitation. Yiqing Luo turned around as her long and narrow eyes curved into a smile which didn't look like a smile. Do you believe it? Runjamming didn't know how to reply for a moment. He remained silent for a moment before he opened his mouth. I always feel that. As long as it's you, no matter what is impossible, I feel that. There will be a miracle. End of this chapter. That you're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.